What we do here is go back. What we do here is go back.
That's better. At least that should be better. Typical start, something going wrong. Good evening everyone, Mike here, Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To. It is Saturday the 3rd of June 2023. Hopefully you're having a fantastic evening or day or morning, wherever you are in the world watching this stream. This is a live stream, so do expect things to go wrong. They generally do, especially when it comes to our internet or my technical abilities with a computer and or streaming equipment. So hopefully you can all hear me. If you can let me know in the chat. I was reading something and trying to say something at the same time, which doesn't always work out well.
Every so often, there's a moment.
Sorry, says Kath. Mishtech says, cool tan. Yes, been trying to get a little bit of sunshine wherever possible. It is quite good for you. And I should say thank you also to the super chats, which we've seen coming in. My mouse doesn't seem to be wanting to play ball today for some reason. I'll have to swap it out. So we had a super chat early doors from Ugly Bob, who is currently, I believe, traversing through the various islands off of the Greek mainland, possibly. I could be completely wrong, but he's on holiday anyway. So thank you for the super chat, Bob, and whatever it is that you said there. I'm guessing that says disco, 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 disco in either Russian or Greek. One of the two. I'm not very good with languages. I struggle with English, as you all well know. And there was another super chat that came in from Mick Woods. Mick Woods, £20. Thank you very much. Very kind. Appreciate that. Says, hi everybody. Looking forward to another lively stream. You must be watching someone else's stream. A couple of bottles of lager and a bag of crisps. Luxury. Fantastic. Well, settle down, enjoy your beer, enjoy your crisps, and we'll try not to disturb you too much. We'll give you the odd shout out every now and then just to make sure you're still awake. So yes, everything appears to be working. Let's have a quick fast forward. Yes, we can hear you. All good. Excellent stuff. Video and audio in sync. Thank you, Willy Bob. Looking good. Okay, let's see if the overhead's working. So potentially it might, you never know. There is the overhead camera. And let's get rid of the super chat text there. And actually I've made a very, very slight addition to this. Actually, it's not very centered, is it? Let's move that forward a little bit. Actually, maybe I'll move the camera down a bit. Let me adjust the camera slightly. So, there we go. I think that's pretty much bang on. So we got a little bit of brightness there coming through because we've got the actual studio, basically the windows open, so we're getting the last remaining bits of sunlight coming through. But I have actually got on my telling thing a application with a light on, so I can now see if I can make this work. So turn it on, there we go, super bright. Turn it back off again. So those little problems that we get sometimes with trying to see inside of cases or trying to wire up things, hopefully I can avoid now by using my Joby Beamo light, or Beamo Mini I think it's called. So yes, we'll be using that hopefully, that'll all work. Excellent stuff. We haven't got the webcam connected up yet, so that is okay. So Nick Barnes not feeling very well. Oh, bless you. Hopefully you're feeling better. Skystork says, works nice and bright. Excellent. The fancy light in place, says Matthew Day. Actually, ironically, no. The fancy light from Streamplify, I had put over there, and I did the review video of it, and I went through some settings like we did last week on the stream. And for some reason, I'm really struggling to get the white balance to just settle down properly. I'm getting all kinds of weird results. So that's a little bit of a work in progress still. I do need to adjust the lighting. I actually went even to the point of cleaning the softbox filters this week. They are fabric filters that go on the front of the softboxes, and one of them's got a slightly yellowy hue to it. So yeah, Caf's one's okay. That's quite white. That one's got a little bit of a yellowy orange tint to it. So maybe need to bleach that or do something with it. Anyway, regardless. So hopefully you're all having a good weekend. We've had some pretty decent bargains this week. If those of you that are members of the Discord or go to our community tab, been posting a few deals and actually got some of them on the desk right now. Some things were good, some things were less good. So we'll take a very quick look at these before we get into the main bulk of the video. So one thing which has been a great bargain this week and into last week was this. This is the Clev Kraz X, is that? Yeah, Kraz X RGB RAM. Managed to pick this up for about £40 for a 16 gig kit, which is absolutely excellent value for money. Although, I had a weird issue with the RAM. Now, I built up the DAS 6 system, the little mini ITX one that you saw possibly in last week's stream, I think it was. It's been so long now, but yeah, I think it was that one. And weirdly, when I was next to it, I could hear this kind of almost like a Ryzen full siren. So almost like a police car, but kind of miles away, but it was in the PC. And I thought, oh God, it's the power supply. Mini SFX power supply. Potentially it's gone bad. So I was like listening to it. It's like, no, it definitely seems like it's coming from either the power supply or the motherboard. And I didn't think much of it. So I took it all apart and rebuilt another system. And I put this RAM back in. And I noticed it was making an odd noise as well. And it wasn't actually showing up in the Gigabyte software to set up your RGB. So just didn't see the RAM at all, which struck me as slightly odd. So yeah, trying the RAM out, one of the sticks of the Kraz X appeared to have a weird fault, some sort of diode problem. I'm not entirely sure what it was, but obviously Amazon stock. So quickly go on, arrange a return, and actually they did a advanced replacement type thing. So they sent a new one out, and we're going to collect the old set. The old set got collected in about 12 hours after arranging it, and the new set turned up about 3 hours after that. So brand new set of RAM from Clev, Kraz X from Amazon. You can still pick it up as a bargain. Now the reason why there's actually 2 packs here is because when I was arranging the return for this, I did notice that somebody had actually sent some back and there was a used bargain. So these were down to just slightly over £35 for the same set. So yeah, 16 gigs of RAM, 35 quid. there has been slightly better pricing recently, but £30 to £35 is pretty much the lowest I've seen it go for 16 gigs of decent quality RGB RAM. The non-RGB stuff you can potentially get a little bit cheaper sometimes, but I do like a little bit of RGB, or at least the option to have RGB. So I thought, well, while I'm there, I will pick up another set. This stuff seems to be very good. Obviously, warranty-wise, it's done through Amazon, so they just fire you out another set. So yeah, absolutely excellent. So effectively, 32 gigs of RAM there for somewhere in the region of about £70, which yeah, is excellent. And it's got a lifetime warranty, so if Amazon don't get excited and want to help you out in the way that they normally do, then you can send it back to Clev and get that sorted out. So that was awesome. Glad that's come through. So that was a great bargain this week. Also, another bargain, which is actually in my other pile, is the Ryzen 4600G, which is what this build tonight is going to be based on. It seems to be, on paper, a cracking processor. And actually, I have had a very little peek at what it potentially can do on its own and with a graphics card. And it pretty much is a 5600G, but a lot cheaper and with slightly less cache, which I didn't really notice, if I'm completely honest with you. And it does seem to run cooler. From what I can tell, the 4600G is effectively the laptop version just put into a desktop processor. So it runs super cool, and the best of all, the wattage is excellent. Even just on idle desktop with things like Steam and all that kind of stuff running in the background, as you do normally, Discord, all that kind of stuff, we're looking at 4 watts. That is amazing. So if you're looking at building a kind of little mini PC, low wattage, maybe a NAS server, or just a media center box, or do you just want something to play games on which isn't going to burn through the electricity, then the 4600G does appear to be fantastic value. You can pick it up at the moment on Amazon for just under £90, which is about £25 less than the 5600G. And they're, in terms of actual difference in kind of performance, the 5600G doesn't appear to be 20% better. So if you want to get a bargain, then definitely worth looking at. That is over here on our build pile. So it's a normal retail product, comes with a obviously CPU and a cooler, etc. 6 cores, 12 threads, base clock 3.7 gigahertz, boost clocks 4.2 is stated, but actually 4.3 basically all the time anyway. Even with Cinebench loads, it boosts higher than the rated speeds. This is even on a really kind of bargain basement A520 motherboard, so yeah, potentially you can get a lot out of these. If you had an unlocked board, you could probably overclock it more. I did weirdly see as well boost speeds on 1 or 2 of the cores up to 5.2 gigahertz. I don't know how, and I don't know why, and I was unable to replicate it, so either it was like some weird software glitch or something, but we got 5.2 gigahertz out of this crazy little processor. So yeah, that was very odd, but overall, for 90 quid, with built-in Vega 7 graphics, can't go too far wrong, so that was another great deal. Locally, this week, managed to pick up, well actually today, Ryzen 5 3600, just the regular 3600, looks to be in pretty decent condition. No cooler, unfortunately, but picked this up for £50. So yeah, not exactly world beating, but if potentially with your little mini PC, if you want to go for 3600, so you've got the extra cache on there for some tasks which might be useful, stick a graphics card in with it, and yeah, this is going to be a cracking little system potentially. So couldn't pass up on that, and it was literally kind of 5-10 minutes away from my house. So yeah, it was great. The guy was also selling some RAM as well. So even though we'd already bought some RAM this week, this I felt was a pretty much a bargain as well. So this is the Patriot Viper. This is the Viper Steel Edition. DDR4 4000 at CL18, I think it is, or CL19. So, does it say on there? 9K, I'm not too sure. It could be CL18, could be 19, but generally you see this like CL20 for the cheaper stuff. Managed to pick this up for £30. They wanted 35 for it, but I'm thinking DDR4 4000 might actually allow the 4600G to stretch its legs a little bit more with that extra little bit of memory bandwidth, the frequency, then yeah, potentially that might be a little bit of a helping hand. I got that essentially just to do some testing with it, and actually it smells like it's been in someone's bedroom where they do a lot of cleaning. It's got a lot of fragrance to it, or maybe they just use that scented toilet paper, who knows. Anyway, let's put that to one side. So those were some pretty decent bargains this week. Something which I think is less of a bargain, but we did see this at our local co-op. So yeah, clearly don't get too excited. I might actually get Kath to draw the blind down just a moment. This was the Neon Glow line, is its actual word. So this was reduced from £5 to £3. Luckily, it is a tax deductible, so this might be used on our Mike's unboxing setup. Actually, I haven't even got the lights on. Oh my god, what is going on? I am rubbish at my job. Effectively, it's supposed to be kind of like that. So neon. It's kind of not quite. So the theory is you kind of make it to be letters or words or a picture or whatever you want. So you can turn it on. First of all, it gives you kind of seizure-inducing stuff. Slightly less seizure-inducing stuff. And then there is the solid version. Now, if you're someone who has owned tropical fish previously, this will be very reminiscent to that little line that goes through the neon tetras. Yeah, you kind of need to be into fish to kind of know what I'm talking about. But it is that same colour. So if you've ever seen neon tetras, what they look like when they're under that kind of fake lighting in a fish tank, it's very much that colour. So the theory is you can put this from basically make up words and string writing or whatever, or just wrap it around your hands and just, I don't know, do whatever you want with it. But I'm not too sure. I wanted to put something on the wall that said Mub, like Mike's unboxing, the shorter version of it, but I don't know whether I'm going to be able to. It comes with some cord, some stuff like that, so you can actually just attach it or make the words up out of this and attach that to it. I don't know. It was £3. It takes 2 AA batteries and it makes a weird humming noise. Yeah, there you go. It's
Well, maybe I need to put that down and
yeah. Oh, Kath's breaking the place. Thank you very much, Rick H, for the $10 super chat to buy more co-op goodies.
Do you want to see our detangling
Where's my mouse gone now? Oh, there it is.
Our detangling brush was a
Yeah,
bargain,
Kath bought a detangling brush. Clearly not much need from me, unless I'm doing my nose. Alright, let's stop there. Anyway, Alexa says I used to feed neon tetras to my Oscars when they wanted a light meal. Oh, God. Nick Barnes says it's Wonder Mike's lasso of truth. I could actually lasso this round. I could take this with me actually when I go and buy second-hand parts, and they basically just lasso the person with it and say, "Is this CPU got bent pins? Have you overclocked the bejesus out of it? Have you been using this graphics card for mining? I want to know." Anyway, we're just being silly now, so we'll try not to do that much more. Can't guarantee it, but you never know. So yeah, some pretty decent stuff this week, and yeah, some interesting videos that we've put out this week. Quite a lot of you actually liked the video for the Jones bow, the D41 case, which went out on Friday, the one with the LCD panel in the front. That's a cool little case, and I'm actually going to be looking forward to doing a build in that. Someone actually requested that I do a build in it, but don't do it in a live stream because the live streams are too long. So I might have to have a kind of bit of a vote on the community tab there. I will post that and see what the general consensus is. If you want to see me do the build in the D41 from John's bow live in a stream, so you can kind of ask questions on the fly, then yeah, we'll be asking for that. Or maybe you just want to see a more truncated version of it in a normal kind of produced daily video. I don't know. We'll see what the consensus is. There's two or three builds that we've got to do at the moment. One of which in the case we got from Stuart. I had to think about it then. The Arteck P20C. Now I'm thinking the Arteck P20C is going to be an AMD build. So I'm thinking that's going to be a 5800 in there. And we have got the D41, which I'm thinking is probably going to end up being a video editing rig with an Intel motherboard, Intel processor, and an Intel graphics card. So that is the kind of what I'm thinking of at the moment. I've also got this build to do as well, which we'll get done tonight. So that's the ones that are coming up. Let me know what you think about those. I'm not entirely sure with the P20C. I think probably going AMD is going to be the option, because I do want to put a 360mm AIO in there. but do I go for a kind of a very muted build, no RGB, being that case doesn't have RGB? I think that might be a slightly interesting thing. It's something we haven't done for a long time, a non-RGB build. So yeah, we might do that with the Arteck Freezer 2 360 with the 5800 on a B550 board with probably, I don't know, graphics card wise, maybe a 5700, because we have got one of those here. Maybe I might get an RX 6600 or 6700, see what that's like. But yeah, we'll open that up to you guys to see what you want to see. And no, my mouse isn't there, it is here. £2 super chat from David Aiken says, glorious tan. Well, thank you very much. It's coming on. Down neck isn't very good. I have been taking my shirt off out in the garden.
So
And
far, Greenpeace haven't been right.
Greenpeace have not come and tried to put me back in the water as of yet.
That might have been a close call.
Yeah. So there we go. Yeah, so that's kind of where we are. William Bodie, what's he saying? The 4060 Ti is better. No, I've kind of missed out on that. Aletta finally finished my main PC build. Took me 9 hours to bend the tubing and looks awesome. I'll post a pic to Discord soon. Awesome stuff. Looking forward to it. Oh yeah, Kath is manually opening and closing the blind when the disco ball goes off.
Feels a bit shortchanged when you can't see it too good.
Kieran says, I'm late as usual. No problem. There's no such thing as late in a live stream. Just rewind it a little bit. It's absolutely fine. So, with all that out the way, all the pleasantries and all the keeping you all up to date. So tonight's build, we are doing a mini ITX build. This is in a case which was sent from Ugly Bob. This is going to be using the Cougar QBX, which is actually an interesting case. More so in its history than actual its abilities. Because the Cougar, I'm really struggling to say that, almost as bad as Coupon, or Cougar, similar letters. Anyway, I digress. So the Cougar QBX was actually released back in 2015. Now, for those of you that remember 2015, I do, and I think I still had hair then. Maybe, maybe not. 2015. Yeah, I probably did a little bit. Anyway, that's another story. So 2015 was a very, very different time for PCs, and especially for mini ITX. We were in the era of the FM2 Plus socket. AM2 was still about a little bit. We'd have been on socket 1155, I think, or one of the 11.5X range back then. So it's kind of quite a while ago. And if you look at mini ITX motherboards of that era, they quite often didn't have a very standard layout. So quite often you'd have a kind of heatsink in one weird place where the chipset was, or the 24-pin power connector would be at the top of the board rather than being on the side as it traditionally is these days. Yeah, many other things which were just a little bit quirky. It was very much, ITX then was extremely niche and probably not really for the faint-hearted, because there was lots of things you had to contend with. And also in 2015, people were still using DVD drives. CD drives, not so much, but DVD drives, Blu-rays for sure. So this case has got some flexibility in terms of adding an optical disc drive, as we discussed briefly in last week's stream. That is something which I've chosen not to do on this particular build. There isn't really a real reason why, but I'm guessing because the video or the title of this stream is basically the little mini ITX PC for 350 quid. Now that is actually made up of the various parts. I kind of lied a little bit on the £350 because it's actually less. It's about 330. But if you take into account an additional cooler, which I have put onto the PC part picker list, which is the Si-100, which is a 100mm cooler, which fits in the case, or should do. But I thought to kind of make it so that this PC is basically ready to plug in and use, other than a keyboard, mouse and monitor, keyboard and mouse is included, and Wi-Fi. So for £380 roughly, or 383 I think it is, you can get the entire PC with a Windows 11 or Windows 10 license, and also a wireless keyboard and mouse. So probably a good idea actually we take a look at this now. So let's go over to my PC part picker list, and we'll have a very, very quick run through of what we've got going on there. And hopefully that is going to be visible. Let's see. Is it? No, it's doing the wrong bloody thing. Right. Hang on. Display capture. We want on to that one. There we go. Bada bing, bada boom. Sorry, I have to leave Kieran's message in there because I can't see it now. So there you go. There's the PC part picker list. It's listed in the video description anyway, so you can get an idea. So processor, we said already, Ryzen 5 4600G. Currently price is £90. It's gone up a little bit. You might get it a little bit cheaper on Amazon. The Thermalright Si-100, $19.99. That is an optional, whether you want to use it. Obviously, if you don't, take 20 quid off the price. And the same goes for the keyboard and mouse listed at the very bottom. So that's the Arteck Universal, which is currently £32. So if you take off the optional cooler, take off the keyboard and mouse, that's going to take off basically £53. So that was going to make it £332 something. So Gigabyte motherboard, built-in Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, so you don't need to stump up for an extra adapter to connect up your peripherals. Silicon gaming RAM, that was the cheapest I could find at the time, so £34. Again, you might be able to get the Kraz X for similar money if you want a bit of RGB. The hard drive, we're going for a Kioxia Xperia 480. That's a 2.5 inch solid state drive. Currently £23, give or take a few pence, so that's pretty decent. And if it's for a media center, that's going to be fine. I actually found that you can install probably about 8 to 10 games on there before it starts getting a little bit too full, so that should be alright. Windows 11 Pro, £5 from premiumcdkeys.com/Mike's Unboxing. You'll know about that by now. If you want to get a Windows 11 Pro license, don't buy the Windows 11 Pro license, buy the actual Windows 10 license, because it will still activate Windows 11 and is a little bit cheaper. For some reason, Premium CD Keys have decided to charge more for the Windows 11 license, which I guess is down to where they're buying them from Microsoft or whoever, some third-party seller, whatever the case may be. But yeah, less than £5. It should be about £4.20 after the conversion from euros. And power supply-wise, the Aresgame AGV 500 80 plus bronze, £32. We looked at this before. I bought another one. The fan noise is still very similar, so it's not entirely silent, but seems to do a good job, and it's 80 plus bronze. Relatively efficient. Again, this CPU is going to be drawing somewhere in the region of about 70 watts when it's at full blast. So 70 watts, yeah, it's not even going to be touching the sides of a 500 watt power supply. You could go for something a little bit cheaper, maybe put a 300 in or a 400 watt of your preferred brand, like Be Quiet, Corsair, Thermaltake, whatever, EVGA, the list goes on, Silverstone, etc. So there's one I was thinking of then, but I can't get it in my brain. What is the name of the power supply company? FSP, obviously, as well, but the one that everyone goes to. Oh god, I can't think of the name of it. They're big sponsors on KitGuru. I can't think of the name. It's driving me mad.
William Bodie,
Can't think.
Rick 8 and Matthew Day still use DVDs.
Do they? So we have got some DVD users in the chat. C-Sonic, thank you, Adam. That's the one. That's the badger. Excellent. Ultimate Tech Hub's in the chat as well. Hello to all you mubs. I'm at work. I wanted to say a quick hello. Now off to sling drinks at a bar. No worries. Have a great one, Mike. Excellent stuff. Right, let's have a look at the parts. So, Ryzen 5 4600G, just making sure that is the right one. So again, Vega 7 graphics integrated on there. It does suggest that you use RAM DDR4 3200, but I'm pretty sure we can go higher than that with XMP, so it's going to be absolutely fine. But again, cool little processor, all in one, 90 quid, happy days. Got the power supply, the AGV 500, as we've said previously. We've got the Kioxia 480 SSD. Obviously, if you want to use an M.2 drive, it has got M.2 slots on the board, so you can do that if you want to. Motherboard, Gigabyte A520i AC, so built-in Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. Ryzen 5000 series ready, and also has BIOS flashback button. So even if you're a novice and you buy all this stuff together and you're not sure if it's all going to work together, which basically it did, it recognised the processor straight away with the BIOS which is on there, but you can also flash the BIOS if you're not too sure. do that with USB and you're good to go. And bizarrely will support processors up to and including the 5800X 3D. I wouldn't advise using that on here, but if you wanted to, there's no reason why you couldn't. Although, if you try running it at full tilt, the VRMs will have a meltdown and it will probably start crying at you, or throttling very hard, whichever happens first. Case-wise is going to be the QBX, as we said. So let's go ahead and get it out a minute. Calf's cracking up. Adam and I've never heard of Aresgame Power Supplies. Do they make other stuff? Yeah, Aresgame. I can't say it myself now. Aresgame. Yes, they make power supplies. They make a lot of stuff really, like keyboards, mice, cases, all that kind of usual stuff. Mick Wood says, thinking of buying a Blu-ray drive to rip video collection to my shiny new Sumo Loft NAS. Nice. Something, it's always a weird thing. Like years ago, I used to be really into DivX's. So I pretty much had at least, I don't know, 300, maybe 350 movies in the DivX format on CD. So you could play them on some DVD players, and obviously PCs would play them. DivX was a great thing when it came out. It was one of those great standards which meant that you could actually suddenly get kind of MP4 quality video rips and films and stuff that would fit onto a CD, because they were like about 600 megabytes you could fit a film onto, which was great. But yeah, they kind of lost their sheen a little bit. Ugly Bob's come in with a super chat there. Says, sorry, can't be there. Busy slinging drinks down me throat. Don't forget to like the video, you crazy kids. Cheers, Bob, and keep on slinging those drinks.
Is he number 69?
No, don't think he is currently.
61.
Rick H says currently using their 550 watt. Works great. Awesome stuff. Mick Wood says Synology, that was the phone spell thing. That makes sense. I was thinking Sumo Loft. I've seen that before. And I was trying to think where it was, and I bet that's when I was trying to type in Synology into my phone at some point. Anyway, let's get on and do this build and get things going. What should we start with? Let's start with the motherboard. So let's get some light going on here. And we will, there we go. And that's bright. See the overhead, is that working? Oh, I got rid of the thing. Let's clear that. Yes.
Jason Woods? I don't know if you did it.
Jason Woods. Hey Mike, I could use that CPU.
No,
Oh, sorry, could I use that rig? With my rig, I'm using a 3600. Well, you could do. I'm not entirely sure why you'd want to. If you've got a 3600, it's probably a little bit more powerful than the 4600G, unless you want to take out your graphics card to save power. I don't know. Maybe that is something you potentially want to do. But yeah, I don't think there's any reason why not. Right, let's have a look what we got going on here. Got all the usual guff, which we probably won't be using, although we will be using a SATA cable, so we'll keep that out. That's our Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Actually, we don't need that for now. Multilingual install guide, won't be using that. We will be using the IO shield for sure. SATA cable, definitely. And the plug-in PWM lead for the extra fan, which is probably going to be quite useful. So let's get our motherboard out.
SSD prices have gone really low in Australia. Silicon Power 480. 2.5 inches, less than £19.
Wow, that's a good price on those drives. Let's turn this light down a minute and see what is going to be the happy medium in terms of illumination. Is that better? Is that still too bright? Or has it not changed at all?
I can see it changed.
There we go, that's 29%. Somebody remind me that's 29% at some stage in my short existence.
Number -40.
Oh god. Right, something that I do need to do on this is actually reset the CMOS, because we're going to be using some fast RAM. So I wanted to definitely do RAM training. So to take off the BIOS settings, there is actually a BIOS battery there. I'm hoping just by bridging the 2 pins on the CMOS bridge there, that should reset the CMOS. Because I don't particularly want to take out the battery, because they're in a very awkward position. I'm guaranteed if I take it out, I'm not going to get it back in. Anyway, so that's that done. So let's get the CPU installed, and we'll get some thermal goop on there, and we'll get this on. Like I said earlier, if you wanted to, you can with this put on a aftermarket CPU cooler, but because of the limitations of the kind of case that we're going in with this, it's probably no point, and this thing literally sips power. It doesn't get very hot at all, so there isn't really a great deal of point spending the extra 20 quid. I would say you're probably better off, if you are thinking of having a little bit of extra money to spend on something, you're probably better off spending it actually on the 5600G. If it's down to buying a CPU cooler or a processor, I'd probably buy the slightly better processor. Maybe. I don't know. Come on, get out.
Captain White asked, what case are you using?
The case is going to be the QBX, which is from Cougar, which I can't say. Or is that why you asked me? Just so I say it.
He was saying there's some competitive ITX cases on AliExpress.
Ah, right.
What are we using tonight?
Yeah, we are using the Cougar QBX. I would like to use a different ITX. We might be doing some more ITX builds coming up, but it's one of those things where it's a little bit niche. It doesn't appeal to everybody, and there's going to be a lot of people which have just avoided this stream purely because they don't like ITX stuff, which I totally understand. So I'm going to get rid of the stock thermal goop, which is on the stock cooler, because this stuff is like cement. It's well applied, but it's just the stickiest stuff known to man. It's like, you know, when you've been out in the cold and you come into somewhere warm, then you go back out in the cold again and your nose starts running, and because it's out in the cold, it kind of turns into the hardest nose gems you've ever known in your entire life, and you just basically don't want to come out ever. Is it just me? It might be. I use some isopropyl alcohol just to clean that. Not really necessary, but being that Dave Aiken sent us a load of it, we will use it.
Thanks, Dave.
There we go. Bless you, Dave. Very kind indeed. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. I could actually use a Wraith Spire on this, couldn't I? Or Wraith RGB. That might have been nicer to do, actually. Oh well, what the hell. We're invested in it now. So what have we got in terms of thermal pasta? So we've got some MX4. Looks like there's some left in there. No point putting anything too exotic on here. Just do a little slug of it there. And we'll get the spreader out on that, because that always triggers people. And we like triggering people because it's funny. Well, I find it funny. Let's move that out of the way. I think that overhead light's working pretty well, isn't it? It's what do you guys think? Does it make a big difference actually having that overhead light? It does appear to be. I don't know if it's too bright though, or it needs a diffuser on it so it's not as kind of glary. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Let's spread this paste. Now the reason I spread paste is because this is, if you spread it nice and thinly, you get a really good contact, but also it prevents it gluing up because there isn't enough of a thickness there to actually allow it to congeal too much. Because all you want to do is you're filling in the kind of microscopic gaps between the CPU cooler and the IHS on the top here, or the heat shield. So you don't really want it to be overly thick, but you do want it to be quite even. So it doesn't have to squidge itself out. It will squidge itself out because with the heating, expansion and contraction, it will do that anyway. There we go. I think that's not too bad.
Can you do Craig Gaming? I don't know if there's an answer required.
Craig Gaming, I've got a Montech X3 mesh, thinking of replacing the Molex RGB fans with ARGB, Also maybe a CPU liquid cooler. I have the MSI Tomahawk Wi-Fi Max. I'm thinking MSI MagCore Liquid 240. Which Tomahawk Max have you got? Is it the B450 or is it the B550? That would be something which I would be a little bit concerned of, because if you've got the B450, that doesn't have any RGB functionality. So you, well, you won't be getting your addressable RGB lights. Craig's B550. So yeah, B550, that'd be fine. If you actually want a very good and very cheap 360mm AIO, at the moment, Sahara, are you in the UK? You didn't say, but Sahara Gaming have got the EX360 currently available on Amazon for £50. So if you are considering it, that would be a very good option. Matthew Day says, will you convert me from the pea and squish method? Probably not. Cheers, Jason. Thanks for dropping by. Appreciate you. Now, with these, you can, if you want to, quite often people ask about this. This is actually going to be okay, I think, because of where the AMD logo is on that side. But you can, if you want to, you can actually pry that off and twist it around to the other side. Or potentially you can undo the 4 screws and actually have the AMD logo at the top and just rotate the fan round 90 degrees. In fact, actually, I'm going to do that for this particular win, because we're going to be leaving it in there and it will be somewhat visible. We're going to do that. So let's undo the screws. I should have taken the plastic cap off actually first. That might have been better. The screws do have to go in a little bit of a weird angle. Craig Gaming, yes, Stoke in the UK. Yeah, Kath will put a link in for the Sahara EX. We did a review on it ages ago. It works very well, and like for 50 quid, it's virtually impossible to go wrong with it. It's pretty powerful, pretty easy to set up. It's got its own RGB hub in there as well, so you can add more fans to it should you want to, if you want to go down the Sahara Gaming route, or you can just use it purely for doing your RGB thing. Again, choices up to you. Right, actually I'm going to do this in a slightly bizarre way, so I'm going to take it off there. I'm just going to put this on straight away, and because a lot of people don't actually ever get to see it like this. So reverse turns, 1, 2, 3, there's the click, then 1, 2, 3, then we're going to do the opposite side. So reverse turns with a little bit of pressure being applied. There's the click, 1, 2, 3. Then we can do reverse turn. Oh, there's a click straight away. 1, 2, 3. Reverse turn. There's a click. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I can actually count higher. 1, 2, 3. Oh, that's hard stop. 1, 2, 3, hard stop. 1, 2, 3, hard stop. And 1, 2, 3, oh, a little bit more. 4 in there, so that one wasn't particularly even. You'll forgive me that, hopefully. So now we can attach the cooler, and I'm going to put it around this way now, with the AMD logo at the top, because I think that looks much nicer. Deathstroke says you've got to take off your your shoes and socks. Luckily, it's oh sugar. That is it is summer at the moment, so taking off the shoes and socks is absolutely fine, because you don't get cold feet. Will a 360 AIO fit in the Montech X3 mesh? I'm not sure if it will in the top. I'm thinking it will in the front, but I'm not sure. I would have to double check that to confirm. Or you could just do a quick Google search. I'm sure that someone's probably tried to do it. The one thing about the Sahara EX360 is it's actually one of the more, as you say, like more compatible AIOs, because it's actually quite small in terms of the actual overall length. Captain White says that's a seriously cheap 360 AIO. I know, I bought 2 of them. And Bob sent me one as well because he saw it and thought, oh, that's an amazing price. I'll send you one. It's like, Bob, I've just bought 2. So we'll probably be giving that away at some point in the near future. Yeah, if we can get anyone. Actually, I should mention as well. Let's go back to the main cam. So for those of you that have actually bought things off us in the last week or so, we've been having a nightmare with Parcel Force. This goes out mostly to Glenn and Nick. So actually, there was something else in there. What was the other thing? Glenn, Nick. There was the other one. Oh, the name escapes me. Anyway, if you've bought something from us from our Discord room, then we have tried to do it and it's been a nightmare. We're actually having our road resurfaced at the moment. So the council have been resurfacing the road. So they have been letting some vehicles in the road, but not others. So Angel's been waiting for some stuff to come through for a week now, and that arrived today because the council aren't working, and we've got partially finished road surface. But it seems the roadmen have been turning away some people and not others. So we've been getting Amazon deliveries through the week, but we haven't been getting the collections. We've been getting some Royal Mail ones, etc. Anyways, long story. Basically, don't worry, your things will be sent out. It's just going to take a little bit longer. We're hoping that it's going to be, yeah, we've booked the recollection. This is going to be a 3rd attempt now for collection for Tuesday. So, yeah, fingers crossed, should be done by then. If not, yeah, we'll just have to kind of, yeah, I don't know, just wing it a little bit and see what we can do.
The road was due to be finished on Friday, but...
Right, let's stick some RAM in. Let me know in the comments, should I use the Clev Kraz X RGB RAM, or should I go with the Patriot Viper 4000 megahertz? I think personally the Patriot, because seeing if this will actually work with 4000 megahertz RAM, I think is actually quite an interesting proposition. And I actually have done some preliminary testing, so I have got some numbers already. So when it comes to actually testing, yeah, it could be some quite interesting stuff to come out of this. 4000. O'Reilly, where's that? Where am I looking?
At the bottom. It keeps disappearing and it keeps reappearing.
I can't see anything.
It says, when anyone puts in their thing, it just comes up on the bottom again. It's alright, I must do my ITX thin ITX HTPC style build, but watch. It just keeps coming up on the bottom, regardless of... See it?
It's on yours. You've got live chat. I got live chat.
But when somebody else puts something, it comes up with that on the bottom every time.
Oh, what, with O'Reilly's bit?
Yeah. So I thought he wanted my attention, but I think it's just my phone's messed up.
Kath's broken it. She's broken the stream, everybody. William Bodie says it's going to end up with me driving over 1,200 kilometres to give my care pack to Mub HQ. Yeah, the postal service at the moment is screwed. O'Reilly says I have done nothing. Yeah, we just couldn't see your message previously, or is that not your first message? I don't know.
I don't think it just keeps on coming up on the bottom of my, because he put it at 2053.
Oh, is it because you clicked on it and it's waiting for you to ban it or kick it or whatever?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Anyway, we digress. I digress mostly. So what's the outcome? 4000, 4000, we love RGB. I'm going to do it. IGP plus faster RAM equals faster IGP. Let's do it. Let's go with the Patriot. Actually, because it kind of smells nice. It smells like rose petals or something. I do appreciate it when you buy stuff and people actually...
Did you do a thank you to Andy?
Ooh, that's not so good. Thank you, Andy Archer, for your £2 super chat. Sorry, I should click on that. If I can find where my mouse has gone. I think the battery is finally going to run out. Ooh, so the heat spreaders have basically come apart. That's not a great look. That's unfortunate. Why would they come unstuck? Maybe a heat? Oh well. Right. So, There you go. You see? Can you see what RAM it is? You can, can't you? So 4000 gigahertz. Let's get that stuck in there. So we're going to open up the RAM slots and make sure it's physically around the right way, which it currently seems to be. And actually, that Viper RAM actually is the same color as the accents there on the Gigabyte board, and also, ironically, the same as the case as well. So that's oh, that one's come apart as well. I wonder if that was the heat, because we did have it in the car stay when it was particularly warm, but it does seem that's just basically just fallen apart.
But how far did we actually come?
We didn't go very far. Oh well. It's not the end of the world.
And
Yeah, that's kind of nice. That's kind of sexy. And if it works, even better. That lighting actually works quite well, doesn't it? Just that overhead light, I think. What's my thing?
Orion said it needed a diffuser because it was a bit too bright.
Ah, right. Yeah, I think you're right. So that's with it off. The sunlight is still coming through there, to be fair. But you can't see this, can you? Hardly at all.
I think it's just light now, no sun.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I'm quite pleased with that. There's a super chat from David Underhill.
Oops.
Buy some rose petal air freshener. The thing is, we don't like air fresheners and stuff because the chemicals that they use in them are normally a little bit too harsh.
Fragrances are quite bad for you.
Most fragrances are like really harmful to your endocrine system. Check me out with endocrine knowledge. I might actually put the diffuser on there. I have got a diffuser for that lamp somewhere. Where did I put it? It was on the desk, but unfortunately, it, like most things in here, it's got left somewhere and is physically changed colour. Ah, there it is. Let's put the diffuser on, see what difference that makes. And also, it's going to make the bulb run a little bit hotter as well. So there we go. There. That is, now it's diffused. Someone set us up the bomb. So I might need to go bright. Where have I put my bloody phone now? Oh, there it is. Let's try. Let's make that a little bit brighter. So that's at 30%. So we might have to go to 50. Let's try 50.
I think I need to shut that and start again because it's getting on my nerves. Sorry. Orally.
There we go. So that's the difference now. So that is with a diffuser on. Yeah, it's a very orangey glow. I need to bleach it or something. Anyway, whatever. Let's get on with the build, shall we? Because otherwise, it's going to be here all freaking night. Right, so we don't need any of this stuff. We do need a SATA cable, and we are going to need the I/O shield. So I think we can pretty much put most of this to one side now. Look at that. That's mad, isn't it? That is basically a computer. Hasn't got any power, but it is basically a computer. That still does blow my mind. And does the
Flames.
yeah, the heat spreader thing is a bit weird. Oh, that's kind of nice though. With the Viper logo on there, does tie in very nicely. There was no actual intention of it being color coded build setup. It was supposed to be just something that I've thrown together in my usual style. So yeah. David Underwood says we buy some rose petal air freshener. I actually did put some cinnamon oil into the air diffuser, or what do they call it, a humidifier. We've got one of those things. We reviewed it ages ago on the channel actually. A essential oil diffuser, and I put some of that in there earlier. That's kind of it's kind of nice. Andy Archer says, is that the light you reviewed the other day? No, funnily enough, it isn't. This is, if you look on the channel from ages and ages ago, it is the Joby BMO light, which, yeah, light as in it's the light version, but it is a light bulb. Actually, I can show you it, because it is only just clipped onto the front of the camera, which is something which I should have done ages and ages ago. I really should have done. So that's what it's like. It's just basically a tiny little globe, he says. And if I take that off, you can see it's actually quite harsh with that on. Oh, with it off rather. So yeah, it's got little controls on the back there, so it's Bluetooth controlled, but this has gone a little bit discoloured, I think, the diffuser. It's not quite as white as it should be. And now I can't put the thing back up.
Did you read the letters? The heat will loosen the heat spreaders. I use my heat gun to take them off my RAM.
Yeah, but the thing is, it hasn't necessarily been in like extraordinary heat, has it? Like it was quite warm today in the car, but it's not like crazy hot. Anyway, there you go. Yeah, so if you want to look at that light, it is made by Joby. We did review it. I think it's probably about 3 years ago now. Maybe 2-3 years ago. A little bit of tea there. Right, let's get this case done.
Yeah, because we had that review at the same time, didn't we? It was only the processing we dropped.
Yeah, because that's right. Yeah, it is only the CPU I dropped. That's fine.
It could have been worse. It could have been.
The actual stand we use for the camera is a Joby Gorilla Pod, and I've used that now. Well, basically since we got it, I haven't changed out because I was very, very pleased with that. But the lighting wise, I've always struggled with lighting. I guess that is why, like, productions and movie people, they spend millions of pounds on lighting because it is extremely hard to do. And if you're not good at it or an expert or you haven't got the time, it's a really tough thing to do. So, yeah, I totally get it. Lighting is a very much an art form. And getting it right is hard. There used to be a phrase that we used to say in when we worked for the BBC, and that was, if in doubt, blast it out. So effectively,
If in doubt, chuck it out.
if in doubt, chuck it out. No, that was the other thing.
That was my motto.
Yeah, there was if you can always reduce the light. So if you just blow everything out, turn the lights on as bright as they possibly can, you can do things in the camera to make it better. But you don't necessarily want to have tons of lights on everywhere because of the power constraints, etc. I'm boring, you know. Hi Trev, how you doing? Question, did you read a letter about the RAM?
No, Kieran and Trev.
Yeah, I know, but I'm
Right.
in order.
I've got a Aorus B550 board. With Kieran.
Can't see what the letter said about the RAM now. I did briefly look at it. Something about CAS latencies.
No,
No. Okay. Kieran says, bought some power lines from Amazon. They're slower than wireless. I'm getting 30 megabits per second download on Steam without them and 10 megabits per second with them. Wow.
well, that one, it's right near the bottom. I've got an Aorus. Is that right?
Yeah.
Sounds weird.
Kieran, I've got a Aorus P550 board in its box in my cupboard that I need to do something with to clear space. No idea what to do with. Yeah, it's it's always a hard thing. It's like me, we've got so many bits and pieces here, I just don't know what to do with it all. Really don't. Oh, I appear to have damaged my back. Have I done that?
And then Trav underneath.
Oh, a letter says, if the CPU is a 3700, I think RAM should run at 3733 CL14. Looks like a big ITX. It's relatively big. Is Intel Optane a thing anymore since we got NVMe? No, Optane's been cancelled, deceased, doesn't happen anymore. Can you put the other lights on now, please? No, that's useless. Yeah, I think that should be better.
One, both.
Let's try both and see if we've got enough light. I think that'd be alright.
Just put your glasses on.
I could put my glasses on. Right, so this is the QBX from Cougar. Slightly unusual in the fact that you've got some weird features. So if you want to use an optical disk drive, you can put a slot loading DVD in, mounted upwards, slide this back and you've got access in here for your DVDs. So slot those in. It's a little bit unusual. And the top bit actually makes it look kind of more sleek rather than seeing the holes. There is holes on the top, perforations for fans, etc. Front panel I/O, two USB 3.0s, got a headset and mic jack, power button, usual stuff. You've got mesh on both sides. And also on the bottom, you've got a removable filter and yeah, a little bit of room in there for 120mm fans. If you're not putting a graphics card in, if you're putting a graphics card in, because of this is I said this actually in the review video, because this case is from 2015. In 2015, graphics cards were really different, and most of them were like single slot cards. Like you had the, what was it, the 5700 or 5500? Was it 5750s and things like that? The old Radeon HDs, and generally they're all single slot cards. So having 2 slots on the back, which is what we have got here, 2 slots, would have been fine. But now we use kind of triple slot cards. That is somewhat of a drawback. So potentially that is going to be a minor issue, but depends what you're going to be putting in it. If you're not going to be putting a graphics card in, then it makes no difference whatsoever. And again, something I said in the review for this case is if you are putting modern APUs in here, it's going to be absolutely great. You're going to love it. If you're putting modern GPUs in here, you're going to have to make some sacrifices in one direction or another, because there just simply isn't the room. The back plates aren't going to like it. It's not going to line up, etc., etc. So yeah, there's lots of things that you have to kind of take into account, which I've actually made this all fall apart now, which wasn't the intention. I'm going to leave that in there. Why did that fall out? Oh, I see, because I'm an idiot. This confused me a lot. I don't understand quite how this works, because there's nothing actually holding that in place. Should there be a screw or something? Oh, it just pulls down. Or is it the wrong way around? I don't get this. I'm confused. Help, Kath. The world's closing in on me. Right, I'm going to fix this. It looks like I've bent that badly. I have. So the top one has the hole through it. Yeah, that's something else which has been done better nowadays, is the PCI Express blanking plates. But luckily we're not going to use any. So that's good. Letter, happy, it says to William, I'd be happy to help you tune it if you like. But bless you.
To go up a bit, an ordinary dude.
Oh, ordinary dude. Where? Ordinary dude. QBX is only slightly bigger than the NR200, so I wouldn't consider it if it big, just not as efficient as some newer designs. Yeah, that is actually, I did make a comparison in the video, in the review, saying kind of if you can get the NR200p for the same money, then the NR200 really takes it. But that is only generally on offer every now and then. So the normal retail price of that is about £80. So this is normally about 40 to 50, depending obviously the time of year and all that kind of stuff. So it's a really weird market, the mini ITX market. It really is. It confuses the bejesus out of me at times. So I have to think about now where I'm going to put the drive. Now I'm thinking to put the the SSD here. Now actually in the documentation for this, it does say that you can fit 4 2.5-inch drives. Oh, actually I think I've just found the other one. No, I haven't. Or have I? Yes, so you can put one on the... Well, it looks like you can put another one on the other side of here, but there isn't any screw holes for it, so it'd have to stick with just spittle or something. I don't know. It does confuse me, this case. It is... I think that is something that modern case design has made a little bit easier. That modern cases kind of... they kind of spell it out a little bit more of like how things are meant to go. I know that isn't always the case with mini ITX, because there are literally so many options that you can do things. Let's spin this round so you can see. So on that side, this is where you could potentially mount a AIO or a pair of 120mm fans. So you can put one there. You can kind of put one on there if you want to, although this is where the drives are normally stored. So actually let's take that out, because we're not really going to need that, and it's going to have to come out to install the motherboard anyway. So it's only 3 screws, so you can do those. Yeah.
Old man withers.
Old man withers. Is the case much smaller than the Gamemax Spark? Yes. It is considerably smaller in terms of height. Not so much in depth, slightly in depth. And cooler wise, I think it's wider as well. I'm pretty sure the Gamemax Spark you can put a 120mm tower cooler in. This is quite narrow. Nick Barnes, but doesn't Cougar case use normal ATX PSU? This does use a normal ATX PSU, which is why really it is as big as it is. So that is your drive mounting, so you can put two 2.5-inch drives in there, a 3.5 in there, fan, etc. But I don't think we'll be using that.
And mark point.
Mark point following. Oh, anyone following Computex? I kind of was, but not as well at the same time. I think Computex this year has been a little bit too, some of the booths have been very kind of loud and the audio quality hasn't been great, which is generally a problem for watching videos anyway. It's all a little bit rushed and there hasn't been anything really which I've watched and gone, wow, I have to have that. The only thing I think, there's a couple of things which I've got interest in, not a great deal. One of them is going to be the Thermalright Series 300, which appears to be a micro ATX version of what I've got behind me, or potentially just a slightly smaller ATX version. I think it's micro ATX, but yeah, same as that, but condensed down. So that's pretty cool.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Shut up. And there was another Thermalright case, which was, I can't even think of the name of it now.
Dark Flash and
No, can't think.
Silverstone have been up to some funny designs again.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Yeah, there's obviously Corsair have come out with their new magnetic fans, which for anyone else who's been watching Lianli or Thermalright or any of the other brands that have been doing that recently, you'll see they've jumped onto the bandwagon, which was inevitable. It was going to happen at some point, but yeah, no doubt they'll put a new spin on it. I'm not a big fan of the IQ software, I'll be honest with you. I know for a lot of people it works and it does what you need to do, etc, etc. And actually for a lot of kind of newbies, if you're getting into YouTube and you're watching all the videos and looking at all the marketing, obviously Corsair is one of the leading, if not the leading brand in terms of marketing. So they spend a lot of money on it, they sponsor a lot of people, so for most people they assume that it's going to be like, if you're buying a computer, you must have Corsair, or Corsair is the best. It's not necessarily the best. They've got a pretty decent ecosystem, and in general, a lot of the stuff is actually pretty decent quality. But I don't really think that it is the kind of the be-all and end-all.
Captain Mike says, I thought there was some really interesting stuff this year. The completely passive one, a fractal one. I'll make a list.
Yeah, there has been some interesting developments, no doubt about it, but it's nothing that I've been thinking I have to have that. I would like a 4K 32-inch monitor, but a 4K 32-inch monitor with a reasonable refresh rate and being IPS or one of these kind of new technologies is ridiculously expensive, and I don't think I need 4K in my life that much. It would be nice for video editing, but I've made do without one for a lot of time, so 5 years or so. So yeah, I don't really need to change that now. Let's get these lined up. I should go to the overhead for this already, shouldn't I? Oh, and that is in the way. The Asus Prime AP201. That's been one which has been on my peripheral vision for a little while now. Although, kind of, I'm not really, I wouldn't say I'm avoiding or I haven't banned Asus products from the channel, but I have been very disappointed with their returns policy and their basically help and support from the issues we had with the B660 board a little while back. So I'm still kind of not quite forgiving them for that. And also the fact that most Asus software is absolutely atrocious, which is a shame because their hardware is, in general, actually pretty good. But just their software and support lets them down.
Matthew Day.
Nothing new there, though. Right, works. That's good.
But then most of the companies you deal with nowadays.
Oh yeah, Captain White, Thermalright Tower 200. Yeah, that was cool. Yeah, most companies. I actually had a bit of a run-in with Microsoft, not Microsoft, MSI this week, trying to actually just register a product to get an RMA. So yeah, there's no one company which is immune to all this stuff. They all do it equally as bad.
Matthew Day.
Matthew Day.
Whatever happened to?
Whatever happened to TMD fans? Tip magnetic drive. Their motor is spread in the corners so the hub can be a lot smaller. Yeah, good question. I don't know. There seems to be a lot in them. I've noticed it that. God, let me get my brain into gear before I actually move my tongue. There's been a lot of discussion, or at least mentioning, of. I'm trying to think of the bloody what it's called now. The name for the fan blades. God, I'm struggling with words. There is a type of plastic which companies like Thermaltake and Noctua are starting to go with. There's basically a new type of polymer which they use for making the blades for fans, which is pretty expensive. So not many companies do it, but it does make them last longer and it stops them expanding over time and plastics warping and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm trying to think what it's called. I think it's like liquid something polymer. Liquid resin polymer, I think it's called. That might be completely wrong. If it is, shoot me.
Nick Barnes.
Nick Barnes. Question, Mike. Do you film in 4K? How do you edit using a 1080p monitor? Yes, we do.
No, if you film in 4K.
Oh, if we do. We do film in 4K, and I edit on a 1440p monitor. Because we use Adobe Premiere, and pretty much all video editing software, all it does when you're actually editing the video files themselves, it just shows you kind of like an example of it. It doesn't show you the fully rendered full scene, or at least what it's going to be. So it just shows you the segments, which is normally resized, and very rarely would you actually be able to edit actually in 4K, because it's extremely tough on the CPU, GPU and all that kind of stuff. So you generally don't edit in the native resolution. You have a kind of scaled version of it, or a much lower bit rate. If you actually edited, it's kind of 100 megabit per second 4K, it would, well, it does bring a system to its knees.
Des Duckers.
Des Duckers. I got an email from Asus today saying my RMA motherboard is on the way back to me. Ugh. Yeah, I know how that feels. Although I didn't get it from Asus, I got it from CCL, who actually, since that whole debacle, haven't spent any money with them at all, or their other sister or parent companies. So, not that we spend a great deal of money, but I'm not gonna get involved with that. You can see on the power supply on the top. So if you notice, I'll put the cable in first, and then I've tucked it around there, because they say that with this you're supposed to use a power supply where this connection here is on the other side, or is turned round. But pretty much all power supplies these days are like this layout. So this cable bends in and round. You can see here, so there is a curvature in there. So we wouldn't be able to use the optical drive, because if I pull this rubber bung out, and you can see where the cable is, hopefully. Yeah, you can see that perfectly on there. So unfortunately, we wouldn't be able to use an optical drive in here, even if we wanted to, because it's basically not able to with this. It does say on the box for the actual case that there's some power supplies that it doesn't work with, or it's not recommended to use with. And yeah, as soon as I opened it up and looked at my power supply that I'd chosen for this, it was one of the ones which is mentioned as being not compatible. Anyway, so there we go. Nice and easy access on the top here. So if we're plugging in things like your 8-pin EPS connector up in this top corner, that's actually going to be pretty easy to do. Actually, we could do some cable management now to get that out of the way. So that is our CPU one. Wow, that's going to be very long.
Did you see the FSP cut 593 case?
Did I see FSP? Yes, yeah, the cut. Yes, the FSP cut case. I'm actually genuinely looking forward to that. It seems to be a reasonable price, and actually, well, I hate to say it, but it sounds like it's a very, very good value. If it comes with half decent fans, then they could have a real winner on their hands there, I feel.
Matthew Day asks, do all right angle IECs go the same way?
No. No, they could have actually got the cable for that and done it around the other way. Or you could replace it yourself manually if you wanted to.
Dom's in, he hasn't been able to get into
Hey, Dom.
streams for a while.
Oh, sorry to hear that. Is it something we said, or is it a technical issue? Or
It's
work?
technical, But mine's still now. Putting another different message at the bottom constantly.
Did you recall earlier on when I said about this and I was saying it'll be nice and easy to get to your EPS connector? Well, I was lying. Because this is an absolute abomination. Because that is right in the way. Although this isn't really the case's fault, it's more of the location. Well, actually, I suppose it is the case's fault because of where that is. So, anyway, that is
Point
in.
six. Put in a request to review the $15,000 gaming chair.
I don't think my
By Cooler Master.
I don't think my butt is quite worthy enough of that.
Probably you'd use it as scratch and post.
Now, I should mention actually, Dave Aitken, one of our long-time and loyal viewers, sent these over. These are very cool. These are reusable multicolored cable ties. So I'm tempted to actually put one on there, but there wasn't a pink one in. So bless Ugly Bob to the rescue, and he sent a pink one. So thank you both for those. But on this particular instance, because of what it is, and I may not kind of reuse them or change them, whatever. So I'm actually going to use a regular cable tie in this instance.
Adam's had the same with a sticky message watching on his phone too.
Yeah, maybe.
If I shut the app and let it reopen it goes and then until it just sticks on another one.
See, I had that, didn't I? Remember when I was trying to click on some of the messages, wasn't I, before?
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
And I was having real problems with that.
But I thought it was because it wasn't like O'Reilly to keep spamming the chat with the same message. But I thought he was trying to get your attention with it because it was at the bottom all the time.
I see. So let's get on to another subject while I'm faffing around here. What does everybody think about Philip Schofield? Do we go there or do we not?
No, that's not.
Let's probably not. Bless his heart. Yeah, this is actually going to be a Knowles, I think, for cable management. So let's have a quick look. So in terms of cable management, I'm thinking I can probably run those along there and then down there. That kind of works for that. Possibly. Shame there's not a tie down point somewhere along here. That would have made it a little bit easier. Could do with some of those little grippy things to stick it on there, or potentially just a hot glue gun. Anyway, that's give me an idea of roughly where that's got to go. We haven't got really a great deal else that needs connecting up, but we do have an absolute ton of cables, which I thought would be a nice little fun challenge to stretch the abilities of what I can actually do. I'm thinking now I probably shouldn't have used a SATA cable, because trying to get a SATA cable in there is going to be, yeah, challenging, to say the least. Let's grab a SATA cable out of the motherboard box, I think.
Kieran has a great meme about him. But they post it. But Bob got the laugh from it.
There are so many memes. It's always a way that as a human race, we do tend to do that. So if there's ever anything which happens in the mainstream or whatever, and it's a kind of a slightly taboo or kind of a bit of a shocking thing to happen, we kind of make light of it, and the memes start coming out straight away. And I don't think it's just where people are being disrespectful or whatever. I think it's just the way that we as humans deal with stuff like that. because it is like effed up, but what can you do? I don't know.
Mark Murray says it's just the tip of the iceberg.
That is probably it, yeah.
And just as the saying, picture that iceberg under the sea.
Yeah.
You only see the tip.
It is, it's always one of those things that kind of has always been a thing in certain industries and certain job types. There's always been, let's say, those sort of people, without being too disrespectful. Although saying that, do they deserve respect? Arguably not. Right, let's see if I can get the HD audio. I probably should have just run that along the bottom there. Hey Patrick LaBelle, how you doing? Good to see you.
Andy Archer says the new Noctua are Asterix liquid crystal polymer.
Asterix. Don't think that's auto done that.
Liquid crystal polymer then.
Yeah,
Put it there.
LCP. Right, power switch. Oh, that's in an awkward place, isn't it? Right, I might have to get the manual out on this, because being that it's mini ITX, everything is in a slightly weird position. I bet the front panel header hasn't got its thing in here to map. They should always be the same. So hard drive and reset switch. That's quite funny actually. If you look at that, it's got the hard drive and reset switch going actually into a what looks like a USB type 3 connector, which clearly this doesn't have. I think those are actually upside down pins, because there's 5 along the top and 4 along the bottom. Let's have a quick mosey into the destruction. So front panel audio, speaker front panel, there we go. I'm only checking this because I don't want to have to take it apart again. Although, why is it not showing it? Right, front panel audio, how does it normally go? So the extra pin is on the bottom. Oh, that's right. Just because it's in a slightly unusual orientation here, so.
It's just because you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, just because I'm an absolute idiot. So power switch is going to be, oh my god. I should have done this before I put the power supply in, because I don't think my sausages are going to get in there. And if they do...
You need Maisie to do it for you.
No. I missed.
Doctor 127 says, I bet the cable management can be a pain in a small case like that.
Oh god, yeah. And actually, let's take the RAM out, because that was that's making it even harder. So you've got power switch and power LED next to each other, and hard drive LED going to be on the other side. Wow, this is hard. I'm glad I haven't chosen one of the hottest days of the year so far to do this.
What about those motherboards with all the connections on the rear mic?
Yeah, that's an interesting setup, although I think that's actually going to make builds more difficult, which is probably not a particularly universal view. Well, I think it probably will, because normally when you're working on a case, you do most of it on one side, and then you kind of move around. But with this, or when you've got that, you're going to be flipping from one side to the other all the time, which I think would be a bit of a pain in the backside.
Might be a bit of exercise.
It'd be good exercise, yeah. The sales of Lazy Susans will probably go through the roof.
What about flip-flops? What happened to them?
Flip-flops?
No, flip-flops. They make you lose weight by wearing them.
Well, they rebranded as Skechers, didn't they?
No.
Yes, they did.
Skechers are really comfy.
Yeah, they are. But
Flip-flops weren't.
well, yeah, but that is Skechers. They rebranded them as Skechers. Fit flops.
Fit flops.
Yeah. They've got that special arch, haven't they? And they realised that nobody cared about that. They just wanted to be comfortable, so they rebranded it. Excellent. That might work. And that actually can be tucked under. Tuck it in, they said. I expect Philip did say that. Oh, I'm going to get myself into trouble. Let's stick the USB 3 in.
Alessa's been building PCs on her turntable for years.
Yeah, it's having a lazy Susan is a pretty good way of doing it, to be fair. What's that? Yeah, USB. That's right.
Not ours because it's battery powered.
Yeah.
We had to wait about 3 hours for it to get right.
Right, so where do I want to run that cable? Do I want to run it around the top? It's a lot of cable. Who would have thought this was going to be so challenging? This should have been like a 3-minute job.
Rick H started building PCs in white cases, makes it so much easier to see what we were doing.
Yeah, I will agree there actually, yeah. Building in a white case is very, very underrated.
To me,
There we go.
don't read out.
Captain Meat, I'm not going to read that out. Right, SATA cable, that needs to come out the back. Innuendos ahoy. So that's okay there. I can probably put the RAM back in now, I think. Famous. Oh, actually, famous last words. Let's get the 24-pin PSU power. And actually, that's a null because the clip is going to be on that side. So if you put this in and you put it in wrong, or you want to readjust, then it's going to be a bit of a ball ache because you probably have to take out the power supply to actually take that out. Take me out. There, I think that's going to kind of work. I might actually put a little cable tie up that top bit there just to hold these cables into position. Actually, let's do that now. It's always a good idea to put your cable ties in whilst you're still building, because nothing could ever go wrong.
Captain Meat again.
Oh, Captain
Not
Meat,
too bad.
Captain Meat, stop it. Naughty boy. Captain Meat. The Adventures of Captain Meat. Actually, I should say as well, happy birthday, Captain Meat, because he is now 505 years old. But because Captain Meat's birthday isn't in Earth years, that roughly means I think he's about 50. God, getting sweat on there.
What's it today?
Let's have a cup of tea. I think it was Friday. Cold tea. Can't beat the feeling. Diet tea.
He says thanks.
No worries.
Read that one out.
Yeah, that's about the only comment of his that is actually possible to read out loud.
Does he still make his videos?
Captain Meat's adventures. He hasn't had any adventures for ages. I think after the lockdown started, Captain Meat had to hang up his cape.
We'll have to do some plant-based meat.
Yeah. do some vegan meat adventures. That'd be hilarious. Look at that. That's looking tidy AF. The desk isn't. Look at the state of it. Oh,
Andy
dear.
asked earlier if the cats are still sunbathing and two windowsill, one inside, one outside. Don't know where Poppy is.
Right, what am I going to do with this this SSD? Where am I going to mount the SSD? I'm not entirely keen on the cabling now, so I might have to run that round. Now I've cable tied it up, and then stick it somewhere else. Right, we'll worry about that later. I knew I should have gone with the M.2. What did I tell you, Calf? I said, Calf, I should have bought an M.2 for this bloody thing. And what did you say? Nothing, because that conversation didn't happen because Calf doesn't give a shit.
Now we're going to meet again.
Right, I'm going to bunch up some of these cables.
Patrick LaBelle, I'm good, but something went wrong on my main computer. Now I have plenty of memory errors.
Oh dear.
Processor is good, so it's either the RAM or the motherboard.
I had a problem. My AM5 system. I've been saying all week how well, and last week as well, saying how excellent it's been. It's been running really well. And a couple of days ago, was it Thursday? It might have been Thursday. It could have been Friday. I don't know. Days all bloody mingle into one, don't they? My PC. I pressed restart. Sorry, shutdown, and it insisted on restarting. And it did it about 3 or 4 times. I was like, oh god, here we go. It's that old nonsense again. But I changed my mouse over, believe it or not, and weirdly everything now works. So my old mouse, my old MSI, this bad boy, the old MSI GM30, as you can see I've taken the pads off there, it seems that the left mouse switch is knackered. So I might see if I can resolder it or put new switches in, which I might do because I do like that mouse. I've used it for ages. I did buy a replacement, which is basically exactly the same because I liked it that much.
Mish Tech asked, would that motherboard survive a Ryzen 7 5800X?
It's supposed to. I personally don't think it would, but it is effectively in the compatibility list, so in theory, yes. But I would say arguably no, don't do it.
And can you read Craig Gaming? This is too technical for me.
I can't at the moment. Craig Gaming, are you still using your Eklung USB? No. No, the L2 Young USB PCI card, no. I changed motherboards out, so I didn't need it because I had all the ports in there. I'm trying to think what it was. Why did I have to use that? What was I using? Oh, it was the MSI B550, wasn't it, I think? So it didn't have a PCIe or something. I can't remember what it was. There was something like that. But yeah, no, I'm not using it. Duck Mike, as I can hear Calf's handbag swishing through the air. She doesn't have a handbag. I'm allowed her to have one of those. If you can hear it knocking on anything, it's only the sink. What have I done with the clipper things? Where did I put them? I must have put them down somewhere.
Your hair clippers.
Yeah. Oh, I put them away. Of all the places to put it, I put them away. Put away now. Oh, I thought I snipped through the power supply. I've done that before now. Not good times. Right, which one of these SATA tools am I going to use? Right, let's use that one because that's got less on it. I am actually quite tempted just to literally snip the end of this off.
Oh, I don't remember last time.
Yeah, that's why I've not done it. Because I always snip in the wrong place. Nasty
Remember
business.
that time with the nail scissors?
Oh god, yeah. Never use nail scissors to trim your nads.
Not the curved variety.
Oh my
anyway.
god, yeah. Especially if you can't see very well because the shower water is going in your eyes. It's just not a good look at all.
That's probably over half your life ago now. Don't show your bad snipping habits live on camera.
I don't mind. You guys know me. I just say what I am, what I'm all about. It's fun. It's fun. Right, that is that. So that can be tucked in there. That'll be happy days. So that, I think, is pretty much it for this side. I've got to work out what I'm going to do with that SATA drive, because that isn't going to be as simple as I first envisioned it. That's looking alright. It's lined up quite nicely. And that one hasn't. Why does that look so awful? Or is it just the light? It might be just the light. Okay. So we've got to put a drive in here somewhere. Well, we didn't have to. I could just use Velcro and just stick it to the power supply. That would probably be a lot easier.
You just use that Velcro cable tie and ping it discreetly.
Very discreetly. Oh, show you what, just chuck it on the floor, it's fine. Oh, it's a shame that... See, that is a shame, because you could put that cable underneath there. That would run under there really nicely, but instead, you kind of have to go up around there, which is a bit of a unfortunate thing. So this, I'm guessing, has to go something like that. That kind of makes sense. Okay, I'm digging that. Let's see if we've got any little screws inside, which will do that.
David Underhill says real men use a blowtorch to singe the hair.
Wow. David Underhill, you have my utmost respect. George is falling out of his chair. Again. George is falling off the jetway again.
Did you fall off the jetway, George?
O'Reilly says, that looks cramped. Yes, it is.
It's got a bit of a curve on the cover, hasn't it? Doesn't it curve out a bit?
What, in here?
Yeah.
I think he means the case in general. Rick H says that's turning out to be a nice little space heater. Yeah. The theory is this is going to be like a little media center PC, because the last one we had, we sold. Well, I say I sold. And, yeah. I'm trying to make this as, like, reasonably tidy as possible, but it's not that easy. This is a game, I'm going to say it, I've said it again, I've said it so many times in the video when I did the review of the case. It's one of those things that we take for granted, that the kind of layout of modern towers takes a lot of these things into consideration, of like where you're potentially going to be putting stuff. Whereas back in the day, like when this was made, those sorts of things weren't really considered at all. Or if they were, it was kind of like an afterthought. Obviously, if this was a modular power supply, then none of this would be happening.
O'Reilly says, surprised that you have not lost a chunk of skin yet. It's quite smooth, isn't it?
Yeah, there's always a potential. Don't rule it out.
Andy Archer says, is there room for the DVD drive?
There isn't room for the DVD drive with the power supply that we've got in here. It is supposed to have room for a DVD drive, but in the in this current configuration, that is not going to be possible, unfortunately. Which way around does that go? God, it's been a while since I've actually wired up a SATA drive.
Stuart Cleary bought a second-hand Samsung Ultra HD 4K Blu-ray player last week for €100. It sounds like a nuclear reactor starting up, spinning discs.
Yeah. That is the trouble.
I think when you add that...
Adding a CD-ROM to any computer inherently will make it slow.
What's that game? Flights?
Oh, yeah, Flight Sim, yeah.
When you did it on disc, and it's like, what the hell is that noise?
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, because of the way that the technology works, with the... oh, this is going to be difficult. With the way that CDs work and hard drives spin up and spin down, it adds latency to the system, which is generally something you want to try and avoid.
KZH.
Let me wire this up. Aletta says I use SATA for fan controllers. Right, I'm just going to keep that out of the way, that's fine. That's fine. KZH, hey Mike, I know you're not a big fan of HD UK, but Sardin's posted a 50G 1TB NVMe deal, Micro ATX pre-assembled by Polycom 360. How would this compare? I'm not sure. Probably would compare very well. And actually, well, being this is like 330, so if you upgraded the processor and the NVMe, actually that sounds like a pretty decent deal, to be fair. I'd have to look at it. Polycom and a lot of other places like that, to be honest, I don't know. I don't have a lot of confidence in a lot of these retailers these days, especially for building me a PC. I think I'd much rather select the parts myself. But I guess it's down to the individual. Some people don't really have the confidence to do it, in which case, yeah, absolutely cool. Go ahead, get a company to build it for you. I should have taken that into there, I think. Sorry, I'm just reading that. Freedom House. So tight if you poured a barrel of water over it, a drop wouldn't hit my desk.
I think that's about everything in that case.
Oh, right, gotcha. Right, let's run another cable tie in there. Try and tidy this up. Yeah, tie down points and cable management are definitely somewhat of an afterthought with this.
KZH says, I agree with you, I'd find any reason to build it myself.
Yeah.
Who stole Aletta's last piece of chicken?
Oh, Aletta. Right, that's going straight across there. That's fine. Okay. Right, do I put this sack of spuds fan back in? I suppose I should do. I wouldn't be doing it justice if I didn't. And then I can realise, oh, what's that cable coming from there? Oh, I got a cable manager with that. Rubbish as well. Ah, oh, dear Lord. I like modular power supplies. Modular power supplies, they is good. I'm getting to the point now where I'm just losing the will. Losing the will to live. It's too hot for this.
Losing the William Booty. Get out, fly. Where's Poppy? Poppy!
Right, that's that. Oh, it's out of the way. That'll do. I'll tuck that down there.
Did you all see the full eclipse tonight? Oops, sorry, it was Mike's head.
You cheeky bastards. Who's that?
Who do you think?
Captain Meat?
No.
Ugly Bob?
No.
Kieran?
Stuart.
Ah.
You were miles off.
I would not have expected that from young Stuart. He's a very, very bad man.
Really random's in.
Hello, really random. This is going to get messy now because... Right, where on my desk of delights did I put that fan splitter header thing? Oh, I can see it. I can see it.
Really random says GPU prices are coming down nicely.
I don't know. There are some bargains to be had out there, without a doubt. But I don't think the prices are coming down enough in the mid to high end. I think the lower end and the kind of low to mid is dropping, definitely. You can certainly see that happening. This is a, for those who haven't seen it, this is a PWM, a mini PWM to normal PWM connector. You can buy these to go on graphics cards because they use the smaller one. So if you get a graphics card where the fan stops and you want to just strap a Noctua to it, you can buy one of these and actually just connect it. They use this on here because the motherboard is so teeny tiny that there's not a lot of room for headers. So they actually supply this little doodah.
Kieran said I wouldn't say anything like that.
No, Kieran wouldn't, which is why I was a bit surprised. I was just chucking names out there. And there we go. So that is the fan header on there. And now we're going to put this thing in here. I don't really want to put this in, but
Something to put your finger into.
yeah, in the name of testing, we should really see what it's like and see if this is the loudest fan in the PC. I want to put another fan in the top at some point, which
It's got those 2015 cables.
I probably can't actually do. I blame Bob for all of this, by the way.
Look at the cables.
Yeah, I know. They're like LBGT bloody cables. Right, where's my screws? There, is that the ones that come out? I can't remember what screws come out now. Oh, it was those ones there.
It's mad to think all cables used to be that colour.
Yeah,
But it does match the power supply.
it does match the power supply. Yeah,
You did say there's a lot of orange.
that's, yeah, there was a lot of orange in this entire Inception, including my tan. There we go, getting there now. I just want to get it to the point where I can turn it on and it might actually work with that RAM. That is going to be, that's the biggest thing, because I don't really want to have to take the RAM out.
Hashtag blame Bob.
Yeah, if it goes wrong, blame Bob.
He's not in tonight, so you can blame him.
Nick Barnes, oh no, ketchup. It's a weird size fan, it's a 90mm fan they include, and there's it's like an 80mm opening. So that's an 80mm fan grill size, but 90mm thing, so you've got the adjustment there, but I cannot see how that is going to actually do anything at all. Luckily it's got lots of openness for the mesh, etc., so it doesn't really matter.
Really random ones coloured them in. We've done that, haven't we?
We have, yeah. I like how they include this fan with the longest cable in the world, which isn't actually really necessary because the header is just there. I suppose they don't know where your headers are going to be on your motherboard, so I can't give them too much grief for that.
But is it longer than the case?
Yeah. I'm going to put a little cable tie to hold that in place, just so that if I put the sides on, it actually, that might be okay. I think if I cable tie it, it's going to be actually standing out more than it is now. So that's it. I think that is pretty much done. Cables down there look a mess, but there's not really much I can do about that. Kind of is what it is. So let's chuck some of this stuff away, and then we can change back our camera angles. I don't know whether I'm going to put this back in or not, actually. Oh. Or indeed, if I can. Oh no, that's right. So I could have put the bloody drive in there. In fact, that would have probably been easier, and I can still mount another 120mm fan on there now if I want to, which I'm aiming not to, really, if I can help it. This is the bit where this screw won't go in. Oh, it did. Happy days. Right, so that's in place. Good stuff.
What case is that, Mike?
It is the Cougar QBX, courtesy of Ugly Bob Alopoulos, who's currently touring the sunny streets of Greece.
Get him to bring back some mastic gum.
Yeah. Do they do mastic gum there? Yeah, that's where it comes from, isn't it?
I think it's cypress, isn't it?
So you can see what is going on in the top there. Obviously, make sure the power supply is in the on position before you put the top back on and all that stuff.
And earlier, Matthew Day said that anyone who cable manages before testing is very brave.
Brave and or stupid. Or all of the above. I kind of like how open that is on the back in terms of if you've got a system or you've built something which has got a little bit of a toasty VRM, you're going to get a lot of airflow to the back of the motherboard. But I don't think that would have been their... Actually, I don't even know what their initial thoughts would have been when they were putting this design together back in the early 2015s. In the 10s. Yeah, actually, the back screws are normally just traditional screws. So I'm going to actually upgrade that and put in some... I'm going to double the case's value, and I'm going to put some thumb screws in for when I want to take it apart again, which no doubt I will. Thumb screw, I want 2 matching ones. Probably not going to have 2 matching ones in my little magnetic thing. Those are close enough, they'll do. Okie dokie. How hot is that light getting? Hot to the touch. There we go, thumb screws on the back.
Would the mesh be for the PSU exhaust intake mic?
Yes, it would be. And why can't I do up that screw? Oh, come on. Play the game. Right, that one goes in all the way.
If you got invited to Computex someday, would you be interested, Mike?
I have actually been invited. A few of the vendors there have actually sent out emails saying like we'd love to see you, or would you want to meet up? Do you want to arrange a time, etc. But traveling, etc., and all that kind of stuff, we very rarely leave the house, let alone the country, let alone the continent. So yeah, it's probably not going to be something which is going to happen anytime soon. Oh, I thought the stream conked out then. So just having a quick hydrate. Yeah, I think that looks okay. We dropped any frames? No, we haven't dropped any frames, so it must be the interweb.
You going easy?
That scare her?
Yeah.
Saws. Okie dokie. Right, let's pack away some of this stuff and clear the deck. And I think I can now return to the other camera temporarily. Although some of
for all the sirens tonight.
yeah, the sirens are going a little bit OTT'd this evening. And there's a Velcro strap from Aresgame.
Brilliant.
You would think, it's like there's a lot of Chinese companies which they put a name together, and actually Swedish companies do it as well, because of the kind of translations don't always make much sense or have humorous connotations to them. There's been quite a few like that, especially some of the Amazon sellers we've come across that have had kind of slightly amusing names, let's say, which is a bit childish to be fair, but I'm a child, essentially.
Nick Warren says, Mike, I bet Sir Bob could get you a military plane and escort troop.
What, in or out? Out of there, probably. Right, what do I need to keep and what can I throw away? So the reusable cable ties thing, actually, I might as well get rid of that, because they have their own packaging as such. Let's put that away. Don't need the user's manual. Who would use a user manual? Oh, I suppose I should put those back in case I ever want to change out the Cooper. That's fine. Yeah, no, I didn't think much. Stuart Cleary, thank you very much for your super chat there for €20. It says towards a new roller blind. Yeah, Kath is wearing it out.
I don't doing it now.
That was good actually. That roller blind is IKEA. Thank you, sir. Much appreciated. Yeah. Don't look at the lights when you turn them on. That's a bad thing. Yeah. I can't believe the RAM box is almost the same size as the motherboard box. That's pretty bizarre. Yeah, it fits in there nicely. Oh, no, it doesn't. O'Reilly, thank you very much for the £10. God bless you, sir. Oh, God. I must be the only person who actually does this, where I kind of juggle trying to get all the things back inside the box to try and fit as much in there as possible. Actually, you could put that in there, I think as well. That's part of this. Oh, shit, didn't put those away. Right, I'm losing the will to live now. I was going to say something about Monsieur Le Schofield, but I won't.
You had a funny smile on your face.
It was good. It was good. Thank you, O'Reilly. Yeah, it was one of my better ones. Well, I'll have to keep that to myself. For those of you who are patrons, we have started assembling a selection of outtakes and clips, which we will be posting at some point. I might wait until there's enough of them, so you can join them all together, maybe a Christmas special or something.
What?
Outtakes.
Oh.
So,
You're still on the old. Good
so
morning.
I have, yeah, today I've actually gone to the effort of rendering some of the funnies and actually saving them somewhere. Whereas normally I just delete them thinking, oh, I can't possibly say that in a video.
A couple of people saying there's some lag now.
There's lag. Okay.
And also, Kieran said AliExpress gave me a full refund for that RX 580, and the seller gave me a BIOS that fixed it.
All right. Oh, that's brilliant news. Well done. Yeah, that is good. Old man with his mind lagged and went back to the start, had to reload the stream. Okay. Sorry about that. Not sure whether created mind lagged and it went back in time.
A pink screen, this is Kieran's graphics card.
Right.
A pink screen and weird visuals until a driver had booted was a BIOS thing. That sounds like good for me.
What, a pink screen?
Yeah.
Well, you never know. If it only started recently, it might be an LBGT bootloader or something. You never know, because they have the rainbow colour, don't they? As their kind of, their banner or whatever. I don't know, whatever you call it. I'm not very wise on these things. Probably not wise to talk about it, actually. But still, it probably won't stop me. What did I do with the box?
A letter doesn't need to join the Patreon. This entire stream has been an outtake.
Thanks for that.
Like the wrap.
I might eat a rat.
Poor Ali.
Oh yeah, God, I remember that.
I was thinking that this morning when... Where was that?
Where did I put the box for the SSD? Hold on. I don't care. I'm actually getting to the point now where nothing is working right, including my brain. So it's best just to use what I've got, use what's left. Let's make some room, and we'll fire this thing up and see what it's actually like, and see if it actually works. I have got an install actually from, I think the last time we used this board is on that SSD. I think. I could be wrong.
Golf Sierra Hotel's in.
Hello, Golf Sierra Hotel.
Seen them for ages.
Good sense of humour. Right, actually, I'm going to take my shoes off. All this walking around in sweaty feet. Right, now I need to plug this into something.
Richard?
No, I'm not plugging it into Richard. He's probably a lovely man, but I don't think he probably wants things plugged into him.
He says, Mike, why aren't you at Computech like all the big tech YouTubers selling your soul and sucking up to all the tech companies?
There, I think you pretty much answered your own question there. I'd imagine, well, I can't imagine being, actually saying that, I think Thermalright would probably be one that I would probably visit their booth, because I think they're pretty genuine. Whereas if you say something, they don't tend to get offended by it. They just go, all right, okay, and kind of take it as it's intended. And they don't get too upset. That monitor actually turned off then. Oh, I know what I can use. If I can find it. Dun dun dun. Arteck. Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. Arteck sealing. So in theory, yeah, USB dongle. Let's plug that in the back. And we need, ow, my feet. We need an HDMI cable. Here's one I prepared earlier. You'd think by now I would actually get this to a point where it's all prepared and ready to go before I start. Where's the fun in that? HDMI. Well, this motherboard's got 2 HDMI ports. I didn't realise that before. That's pretty cool. And let's have a Ethernet cable just to be sure. Turn this on. Make sure we're in USB mode, and we can press the button of doom.
Bang!
God, jeez. The window's open, you idiot. Let's see if we can get into the BIOS. I need to press the other button on here. Webcam. There we go. Is this going to show anything? Come on, you can do it.
Saying no signal.
I can see that. Where's the mouse? HDMI 3, Camlink 3, yeah. Custom. I want the device default. Come on. The light's on. No.
What was that?
Oh, that was the diffuser just fell off.
It looks like a bit of orange peel.
Right, I would say, arguably, that is not booting. Or I'm plugged into the wrong HDMI cable. So let's try the other slot. Nope. Nope, we definitely have a no boot situation here.
Oh, after all that cable management.
I'm glad I didn't waste my time doing loads and loads of cable management. That would have been a pain. And now I've got to turn the light down. Where's the... there we go. Let's go to desktop. No, desktop, we want main. That's the one we want. And the whilst we were doing that, the actual diffuser fell off the lamp. Good job, it's made of silicon. Let's do that and turn the light down. 20%, that should be fine. Dear. But Mike, didn't you fit the 3060 lol? No, 3060 is still in the box. I had to think about that then.
You thought you were in co-op then, didn't you, chucking that produce about?
Just chucking produce about, I am. Right, let's have a look inside and see what's going on then. Don't try this at home, kids. Mike is a professional at something. Mish Take says you've buggered it, mate. I would hope so. And I will speak to the insurance advisor.
Around like RGB rules.
I think you might be right. I think it could be a RAM issue. I don't know whether it's going to actually like booting at 4,000 mega transfers. I think that was probably a little bit on the optimistic side, let's say. Considering it's...
RAM training can take ages sometimes.
Yeah, it could. It could be that. It could be just RAM training.
Turn off the power first.
Turn off the power. You'd be lucky I can't even get to it.
That messes the stream up.
Yeah.
Power electrics.
Yeah, that's a bit of a nose not being able to get to the power on off switch, isn't it? So make sure I did actually... Yeah, they are in there, aren't they? Oh, and the power switch is on the other side, isn't it? There's a bit of a...
I can probably do it. Can I get my finger in there?
That's right. Let's see if we can get an output now.
Bad mojo put in case side panels on.
I know. It's all part of fun. All part of the magical, mystical merry-go-round that is...
Mike's blooper live stream.
Did that... Why is that on that still? Did I not swap it back?
Leave. No, it was alright just now.
I didn't change that.
It's back again now, I'm thinking it. No.
What's going on?
Is it actually powered on? I can hear something. Fan heater is producing a noise.
Yeah, well, that should be on main. So something's kicked off the HDMI. What is going on? That's the weirdest thing. So I plug in the HDMI and it makes the capture card go nuts. Let's try the other port. It's done it again. Okay, so that is clearly something not quite right there. Oh.
Kieran said.
Right, I'm going to take that out of the equation, I think, for now.
Wait,
And you-
I don't know if this helps, but my 4750G would only go as high as 3600 MHz times 4 sticks.
Yeah, I think the I'm not entirely sure the RAM is the problem. I got a feeling it might be the HDMI actually. Yeah, why would it do that weird on the HDMI stuff? Let's turn this off the old-fashioned way, and let's try the other RAM just for the shits and giggles.
Stuart said, "Did you try turning it off and back on again?" Tell him about George.
Yeah, our son's got a new job. He's starting on Monday as a trainee IT technician. So I was trying to give him a little bit of coaching, but in a humorous way. And I said to him, so if someone comes to you, George, and says, like, what's up, my printer's not working, what's your response going to be? And I said, really, what you should always say is, have you tried turning it off and on again? And his response to that was, that hasn't been funny since 2007. Which I'm tempted to agree, because if your stuff isn't working, then it isn't particularly funny.
Stuart has put it before, that's why I should say that, didn't I?
But yeah, if it's please work. PC didn't turn off.
When you last used this motherboard, was the APU turned off?
I honestly couldn't say. That sounds better. That sounded like that ramped up and down. Oh, and it's doing that weird thing. Why would it do that? Can you still hear me?
Back
Yeah. So it seems that when it reboots and boots and does whatever, why is it doing that? So I have currently got HDMI source 1 selected on my capture card.
Dad jokes are the best. You weren't even doing it as a joke, really.
No, it wasn't. So that appears to be very much not working currently. Let's try the other HDMI slot just to be a little bit more optimistic.
Portable monitor time.
Yeah, it might be.
This is why it's a low-cost ITX.
Yeah.
Bad HDMI cable.
Now that is a very, very distinct possibility, because I do have an issue with some HDMI cables.
Which you won't chuck out because they might be handy.
I refuse to throw them away because they could become handy one day. If it is that cable, I am going to cut it up live on air.
Is it got copper in it?
It has, yes.
I will have the copper. Please. Now I know that, I will definitely get rid of them.
Right, that's plugged in now. I know, still doing weird shit.
Or label them at least. Mike don't like labels or lists. I love them.
Wrong version of cable. Possibly. Right, I'm going to unplug that because something clearly is not well there. Yes. I'm deeply confused. Luckily, I have a portable monitor which we can try. HDMI, and we want some power.
Your motherboard.
It's brand new. Brand spanking new. Have I got USB Type-C? No, I haven't. Hey, yeah, the battery on the motherboard, because it's a mini ITX one, they have those weird batteries, so it's actually encased in a little bit of plastic, and then two plugs, or one plug, plugs it in. So they're not easy to replace. Well, they kind of are, but you have to take them apart, desolder the lugs on it, and resolder them on, which some people don't like doing. I personally don't like soldering batteries. It always makes me somewhat nervous. Heat, batteries, and metal things is, yeah, generally bad times. I hate to think I've actually destroyed this. I don't think I have.
I'm guessing it doesn't have diagnosis LEDs.
No. It hasn't got room for fan headers, let alone diagnostic LEDs. I'm going to perch that there where it's going to be totally safe.
Blooper incoming.
Yeah.
Really random. Saying that, my display port that came with my monitor also had issues. Turned out the factory had a wire in one of the wrong pins that caused issues.
Right. Okay.
Andy Archer says you should make
Kath.
a small monitor and it works perfectly.
Yeah, I just plugged it in, it worked. So I don't understand what was going on there. Because...
I've got the camera right in front of the screen.
Right. So,
Nick Barnes, no way.
if I plug in now the other HDMI cable into the PC, in theory it should think it's a secondary monitor. Yeah, it's detected that there is a secondary monitor, and it's made that do weird shit. So let's go to webcam. And oh, I saw a bit of desktop then. But there's something definitely a little bit weird going on there.
Maybe try 2 new RAM now.
Right, let's try...
Maybe Elgato is the reason. Issue even.
Could be. Could be the capture card.
Skystalker, it is a bad cable.
Yeah, but that's a second cable. So I'm going to try on the last port and see what happens there.
Computer says no.
Yeah, well that screen's turned off now. Oh, that'll be why it's gone to sleep. So deactivate and activate. Custom device defaults, okay. Deactivate and activate. No, doesn't like that at all. So I don't know what's going on there. That is a bit frustrating. So, oh, why is it gone back to there? Is that working now? Here we go.
Hashtag blame ugly Bob.
It's bizarrely, the capture card is like, it's probably one of the most expensive 4K capture cards. Although it has it has been a little bit iffy. Ports 1 and 2 seem to work fine, but the third port seems to be a little bit problematic at times, which was annoying because I wanted it for the 4 ports. It was actually from Amazon as a kind of a refurbished deal or something, so maybe it is a bit squiffy. It's the second one I've had though. The first one wasn't brilliant. Right. And there's something bizarre going on with the RAM. Hey Trojan. Let's spin that around a minute. But there's no RGB software on here. Oh my god, that is so small, the text. I don't know why they make a 1080p monitor this size. It just seems like the most ridiculous thing to do because it's just way too small.
Can you see that from the top screen?
See what?
The screen. If you have that camera from that camera.
I don't know.
At all from this one.
That's right. I'm trying to work out where am I. Why is my mouse not working?
Have you not got it plugged into that computer? Put your demo
I
in?
thought I did, yeah. Yeah, the dongle was in.
So push it right in.
Yeah, you could hear it then, can't you? Wonder.
Keyboard turned on.
Yeah. I wonder if here's the USB which is doing it. Yeah, right, that appears to be working now. Oh my days. Right, let's go on the overhead. Don't know what you can actually see there, but I'm actually trying to you can see the RAM is doing some weird stuff with the RGB, so I'm just going to make sure that it actually can see it. So let's do sync mode. Yeah, that's seeing both of them now. Okay, that's all right. I'm happy now. I can close that. Yeah, that seems to be working. Let's see what our RAM speed is like. You won't be able to see this unfortunately because of where it's angled. I do apologise. What is going on with this? Everything's gone a bit weird. There we go. It might be just... I wonder if it's interference for the dongle. Because the lights and stuff. Where are we? Open. Yes, I do want to open this. It's been a nightmare. Right, SPD. So currently, memory. Yeah, it's currently running at the base clock speed. So I'm guessing XMP is turned off. So let's turn this off now. And we will shut down.
You need a head-mounted GoPro.
Yeah.
Hey, Poppy Dora. Can I go see Gramps?
Right, that is shut down now. So,
Say
oh,
hello. Say hello, Poppy.
hello. What are you doing? Lunatic cat.
Oh, you want the pink cable ties, don't you?
Right, let's take out that RAM, and we'll put in the faster RAM. Or at least it would be fast if it actually booted with it, which I'm pretty sure it will do.
Come on then, you'll sit with me.
Let's do
No,
overhead.
that's your chair, not your scratching post. Right. Amy's in your bed.
It's a good job I got a lot of patience, isn't it? Need it in this game. Especially when it's warm. That's when stuff like this is like, it's extra frustrating because you're like super warm and everything is going pear-shaped and you're like, oh god, it's hot. I just want this to work. Stop being a bastard. Where's the power button? Oh, I can actually
Reset
reach
the
it.
BIOS if you're swapping RAM.
The BIOS is in its reset state because it already kind of reset itself.
Wildlife Snapper, it doesn't look... it looks like I haven't missed anything.
No, I don't think you have. So there we go. BIOS has been reset. Please reconfigure your BIOS. And all I want to do is have a zoom, zoom, zoom. Actually, this is not a good idea using this particular keyboard. So XMP, we just enable all that. Oh, XMP, right, you just click it and it does it, okay. Let's do advanced mode. I don't think there's really anything else you can do on here which is going to make much difference at all. PC health, smart fan,
Hey, Daisy.
no, I think that'll do. Let's just enable XMP and be done with it.
Come on up.
Save and exit setup. Come on, I clicked on it. Oh, okay. So you have to press enter. You can't just click it. Pedantic bastards.
What was it then, like RAM?
No, I think it's the capture card. I think it booted the first time. But because the screen wouldn't enable, because of that crazy capture card, yeah, it was doing some weird stuff. So I have no idea. Yeah, that seems to boot up straight away. XMP 4000.
That's what Matthew Day, so is it trying to enable XMP 4000?
Let's have a look. Actually, it feels more responsive already just with XMP being enabled, so I'm guessing it's done something, and being there was only one XMP setting on there.
Oh, Daisy wants to go to bed.
Sorry, Daisy. Yeah, we are currently running at a uncore frequency of 996 and the DRAM frequency of 1993. So it's just a shade under the 2000. But that's kind of exactly what you'd expect. So yeah, it does appear to be running, yeah, as it should do. And there's not really many tests you can run for memory testing frequency to see how fast it is. Cinebench doesn't care less about RAM speed particularly. What is memory intensive?
Jay Gordon says
Can't really
Windows
think of anything.
install AMD.
Yeah, this is an AMD install. I'm pretty sure this is the SSD that I used the last time I had this actual motherboard, because I bought one previously and I built it into a little system, and the system sold so fast, like within 2 or 3 hours, that I didn't get time to do the BOS tour on it. So that is why I ended up buying another, because I wanted to still do a BOS tour, because there were people that were asking about it. So yeah, that's where it's at. So anyway, it's working. It's actually relatively quiet. I suppose actually, maybe if I'll do a quick Cinebench run just to see how noisy it gets.
Andy Archer says do some tests.
Not that you're going to be able to see much of them, unfortunately, because of obviously the difficulties with capturing that screen. I'll try and get it a little bit closer.
William says use Cupid. CPU ID. Cupid.
God, this is so small.
So that's a 1.2 uncore. How fast can it do 1-to-1?
1-to-1 would probably be maxing out at probably about 3800, I would have thought. Although this motherboard doesn't really have the features to be able to do much in terms of RAM testing.
Mishtech asked, is there any point going above 3600 mH there on Ryzen?
There is if you've got an onboard GPU.
Infinity Fabric Max is 3600, isn't it?
Yeah, but the graphics side of it will make use of the extra frequency, much like a graphics card. If you buy a graphics card and it's got a higher frequency, like when you're overclocking, you get more FPS. And the same is true with the onboard graphics, because it doesn't work in quite the same way as the Infinity Cache or the whatever they call it. So potentially, if you have faster RAM, you may lose latency processor speed on the CPU, but you'll gain on the GPU. And being that most people use games as their benchmark, that is why it kind of works out better. So let's do a multi-core if I can see that. It's really weird having a screen on the right angle and then trying to press things. It's very strange.
Pathmark has a RAM speed test.
That's true, yeah, Passmark. That's built into the Windows Store as well, isn't it? So I could actually run that. Although I don't think it gives you a version of what it's against. Those fans don't sound too bad, actually. The one, the 90mm one, I don't think it's actually doing anything. There's a very, very small amount of air coming out the back of there. Very small. Temperature-wise, I'm guessing we're going to be in the 70s.
See if it'll blow your hair.
78, 77. Let's see how long it takes to reach a thermal maximum. It's actually slightly throttling. Actually, no, it's not. No, it's actually speeding up a little bit. 4164. And actually, no, it's starting to throttle a little bit now. It's jumping up. No. Yeah, it's relatively stable, actually.
Mark Point says, wait.
80 degrees.
Mark Point says, wait, what? Can you explain that Infinity Fabric stuff again?
Right, the Infinity Fabric is the link between the memory and the processor. And ideally, you want to have those at a 1-to-1 ratio. So they're like, if the RAM is 3600, you want your Infinity Fabric to be half of that, because it's DDR RAM, so you want it at 1800 megahertz. So by using 4000 megahertz RAM, you would want your Infinity Fabric speed to be at 2000, which most Ryzen processors struggle to get that high. Some will do 1900, even more than that. The default is supposed to be 3200, so 1600. So yeah, 1800 is kind of like the sweet spot for most people, and also DDR4 3600 is kind of the sweet spot in terms of pricing as well. But the GPU I don't think is linked in the same way. So our score for the multi-core test is 9259, which is about 400 points more than a Ryzen 7 1700. And it beats a Intel Core i9 9880H by about 300 points. So yeah, 9200 is kind of within the same ballpark as the Ryzen 5 3600 in Cinebench. Actually, let's I'll put Passmark on here if I can actually see the screen. This screen is ridiculously small, and that's the wrong mouse. The irony is this keyboard actually can switch between Bluetooth and wireless, so I should be able to use one keyboard for everything, but I haven't set that up, so.
And you'd get so muddled.
I would genuinely be like, brain would explode. Let's get Passmark on here. P-A-S Mark. Did that actually? I don't know how to type it. My typing is terrible. So if I press enter, that'll help. Performance test by Passmark. Let's do that as free. Get. And close that down. I think this would benefit from a better cooler. The noise is a little bit. But stop the CPU cooler. It's basically silent. And I just thought actually we've got this face down, which is probably not ideal for the power supply. Although I can't feel any heat coming from it because it's barely being stressed. So let's run Passmark. And actually, while I'm doing that, because Passmark runs for quite a while, so I'm actually going to stand that up just in case the power supply does decide to light itself on fire. Which is never. Is it Aresgame one? And that would be a real pain in the arse if it blew up.
But it fit well with the blooper roll tonight.
Yeah. Tonight's bloopers sponsored by Aresgame. Okay. Right. Let's.
So thank you, by the way.
No problem. I'm not sure if I explained any of it well, but basically the iGPU and the memory. Well, the iGPU and memory are linked, but it prefers frequency rather than latency. So you take a hit on latency for the CPU, but you gain memory frequency for the iGPU. It's there's probably a better way of explaining that. Right, memory mark, run.
Mark Berry says that's a nice display mic.
It's actually alright. It's just the resolution is ridiculous. I should actually change the scale of it,
Get some glasses on.
or get. No, it is ridiculously small though, isn't it? Let's have 150. There we go. Now we should be able to actually see what is going on.
So Mitch Tech says, but if you don't have an iGPU above 3600, what MHZ mean?
Megahertz, yeah.
Is pointless, right?
Hang on, I don't understand that. But if you don't have an iGPU, oh yeah, sorry, yeah. If you don't have an integrated graphics on your processor over 3600, unless you can get your Infinity Fabric to that speed. So normally, well, if you go into your BIOS, you can go into Infinity Fabric and you can manually set a speed. Normally it'll be set to auto. So it will automatically try and dial in somewhere between 1600 and 1800 megahertz as a default. So if you put DDR4 3200 in there, it's going to settle down at 1600 megahertz because that is the appropriate 1-to-1 ratio. If you do 1733 does, yeah, I suppose anything between 3200 megahertz and 3600 megahertz, kind of 1-to-1 ratio, almost guaranteed, because it will do up to 1800 megahertz on the memory Infinity Cache easily. Some processors will do up to 2000. I've had my, what one was it? I think it was my Ryzen 5800. I think the 5800 would do 2000 megahertz on the memory easy, because I had some, actually no, what did I have? I had DDR4 4233, and I actually had the Infinity Fabric at 2066 megahertz with the Ryzen 7 5800 and 4266 RAM. And that was blazing. Totally unnecessary, and most people would never notice it. It's only if I did benchmarks that you'd have any idea whatsoever. Oh, I've done it again. Sorry, I've got a cut on my foot, and every time I take my sock off, it rips the scab off the top. It unheals itself. What a
So
noise.
what are you doing with that sock?
It's hot. I'm taking my shoes and socks off to cool myself down. Mish Texan, gotcha. Thanks for the explanation. Yeah, I don't think I explained it particularly well. It's been a long day. It's been very hot. My brain is starting to not work. So, pass mark, your RAM versus the world. So we're in the 86th percentile. You can't see this, so I'll read it out. We scored a memory score of 3,374. And it's within, where is it? So that compares with, yeah, that is the same as 32 gigs of DDR4 SD RAM PC4 19207 from Kingston. So even though it's a 16 gig kit, it's as fast as the 32 gig kit. It's quite impressive. A standard DDR4 SD RAM from something like G-Skill, you'd be looking about 3200 points. And where are we? SK Hynix at 19200. We're looking at 2700. So yeah, basically it's a pretty decent score. Memory latency, so it scored 30. Yeah, this is basically kind of irrelevant for a lot of you out there, but yeah, it seems okay. It's running, which is good. It didn't crash, so I'm quite happy with that.
Ryzen, you always get lower RAM scores.
Yeah, something actually with this.
Not George, obviously, but
Yeah, the package actually at the moment, you can't see that. I wonder if I can zoom in. No, I can't, can I? Where we go to do that? This is currently running. The package wattage is anywhere between 3.5 watts and up to 67 was the most it pulled. So yeah, 3.5 watts idle, and that's not entirely idle, because there are things like you got the afterburners running in the background, RGB Fusion, you've got Epic Gaming, Steam, AMD drivers, Gigabyte App Center, the Bluetooth module, the Windows security.
Oh, I can't see. You going down?
Which is yeah, pretty good. So 3.5 watts at the desktop idling. That's pretty nuts. Bobby, go away. Did I put the side panel back on? No, clearly not.
Are you being cute?
I didn't put any of the side bits back on, did I? Yeah. Right, let's put the side bits back on a minute. I'll move that out of the way. It's been quite handy, actually, that little portable monitor. One of the better items that we've had for review. And actually, in terms of noise, that back fan is essentially silent. It's kind of useless, but it is kind of silent. Whereas this thing...
How does Vega 7 run esports compared to, say, GTX 1050 Ti?
That doesn't make any sense, what you just said, I don't think. Oh, Vega 7.
What did I say?
Vegas.
Oh, sorry.
How does Vega 7 run esports compared with... Well, the Vega 7 is going to use a lot less energy, but it's going to be a little bit slower. So the GTX 1050 Ti is going to be quicker, because it is a hardware dedicated video card. Although I don't think it's... Actually no, the 1050 Ti, that'd be actually okay, because the onboard graphics is somewhere in between the kind of GTX 1030, 1050. So if you've got 1050 Ti, it's going to be better than Vega 7. It's probably better than Vega 11 as well, or Vega 8, which was also variations of the same thing. Anyway, I'm going to put this back together, I think, before I start losing pieces. Never work on a PC when it's on. Yeah. And never plug in your PC to a Elgato capture card. I don't know what's going on with that. It's a couple of times it's done that on me. I don't get why. It's supposed to be the best on the market, but so far it's just been nothing but frustrating.
But then most of the best is usually that.
Well, Elgato is part of Corsair, so clearly it's overhyped as all hell.
I've got quite Corsair.
Dear God. I can't believe I'm not using my iFixit kit. Right, those lined up.
Stuart wanted to know how you cut your foot.
I don't know. I've got no idea. I think I did something in the garden, but I'm not entirely sure. It's on the top, the bridge of my foot, so every time I tighten up my shoes or put my shoes on or take my socks on and off, it's always on that kind of the top of your foot. And yeah, I don't know how I did it. Very strange. Right, there's the screws back on. Happy days. Right, let's have a look at some of your questions. Aletta says, the GTX 1050 Ti makes a better doorstep than the Vega card. This is true, because the Vega card is really hard to separate from the CPU, so you actually genuinely struggle to do that. Although, I wouldn't suggest using it as a doorstop.
David Underhill hasn't worn shoes since 2002.
Wow.
Is he a grinder?
Yeah. I don't know if I actually want to ask the question of why, but...
David Underhill, my company name is Barefoot Tech.
Barefoot Tech. That's very good. Is that because you don't wear shoes? I guess it would be.
But why?
Yeah, why do you not wear shoes? Is there a medical reason for it? If so, you don't feel you have to divulge,
To ground.
or just like to grind out your feet?
I don't like wearing shoes.
Nick Barnes says, "That William Bodie, I've given up." Oh, hang on.
Exactly, yeah.
Who was that? Alpha Indigo. No Jonesbow D41 build tonight. No, actually, that was something we discussed a little bit earlier in the stream. I do intend on doing that at some point. I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to do it in a stream or whether I'm going to do it in a video. I will put something out on the community tab and also probably in the Discord as well. See what people's feelings are, whether they want to see it in a more condensed format in a video or whether they want to see it in a stream so you can ask questions about the LCD panel, etc. Which actually would have been really handy tonight if we'd have done that, because we could have plugged it straight in and everything would have been... Why do I point at things and they turn off? That's fine. That is incredible. 3.5 watts idling. That is just insane that you can have a computer running a Windows desktop and all the other stuff in the background and it's only using 3.5 watts. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Anyway, I'm going to pack this away and then we can do some questions and chats and stuff, and there is going to be a video on this with all the testing, etc., temperatures, blah blah blah, all that kind of usual guff. someone somewhere is going to be interested. I don't know who, but someone. Can you close the window, please? Sorry, if you're wondering what we're doing, is one of our neighbours is out in their back garden with their dog by the sound of it, and they're shouting a bit more than they would normally. I think probably possibly been to the pub. So just to avoid you having to hear that, we'll close the window. So overall, what did...
Buffered again.
Oh, I don't know.
Alright on mine.
Doesn't appear to. It still says that we haven't dropped any frames, so I don't think so. We are streaming at a slightly higher bitrate than usual, so I'm going to adjust that.
James Brock's just checking in while he's making dinner.
Hi James Brock.
Under David Underhill's medical reason. He nearly lost his foot.
Ah, I see. Right, let's drop the bitrate a bit, so if there's people that are watching with... it could be this system actually. We've had the Virgin Media upgrade, allegedly. And I would say it's been okay. Downloads and upload speeds seem to be kind of where they should be. But stupidly, me being me, I've done the obvious thing of changing too many things at the same time. So I can't be 100% sure if one of the changes that I've made has actually been, and it's kind of negatively affected it. And our network here is actually bizarrely, like, it's just a mess really. But there's not really a great deal you can do with modern setups because you've got so many things. You've got your wireless devices, you've got your smart devices, you want to use your Wi-Fi and stuff in various different rooms in the house. So actually trying to get it all to work nicely together is actually a lot harder than it should be. Of course, you can spend an absolute ton of money, but even people like Linus, they spend hundreds, well they don't, but they get given hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of kit to do a video on like a whole home mesh system. And then you only see them again in a couple of weeks or months time saying, I've upgraded my entire home network because of this. And at the time when they're reviewing it, it's like, oh yeah, this is great. Look at all my internet strength here and how well it works here, all that kind of stuff. And then like they're changing it not very long after. So it's like, well, either you weren't doing a proper review, potentially, because most reviews need a lot longer, like months, years, to exactly see what a system is like, or they're just full of it. Could be either. And it's a hard thing to do. And also you've got other environmental things, so potentially it could be your neighbour's got some equipment which doesn't play ball very well with your stuff. Could be they're using the same Wi-Fi channels, because not all hardware is designed to, well, part of the ECC or whatever it is, the communication regulation thing, is your electrical devices are designed specifically to accept any interference given to them and to potentially not interfere with other devices. Which is why most Wi-Fi is extremely congested, because they all interfere with each other. Anyway, I'm digressing. I'm not entirely sure where I was going with that, but yeah, basically modern Wi-Fi is a joke. It was never well thought out in the start, and it hasn't got any better. So yeah, it's a very crap thing. And even like, again, you can spend a lot of money. We've actually installed an actual cheaper mesh than we've had previously, because I wanted to see if it was our internet problem with our mesh system, which clearly it seems that isn't the case. So yeah, it's very odd. James Brock says, Mike, I love these Creative Lab speakers you gave the thumbs up for. Thank you again, sir. That was the T10s, wasn't it? Was it Creative T10? I've still got them in there. Oh, it might have been the Pebbles. No, I think it was the T10s. Stick to RJ45. Now that is a good idea in theory, and potentially could be the way forward, but here we've got a real mismatch of standards. So this PC, that PC, and my laptop are all 2.5 gigabit. There's a 2.5 gigabit switch over there, which then runs via cable into another 2.5 gigabit switch in the other room, which then has a bunch of other stuff plugged into it, and also cables running from it to the rest of the house, to other mesh units. So the 2.5 gigabit switches, I don't know whether they get quite hot, which normally when it comes to electrics is not a great idea. So potentially it could be one of the switches which is just randomly just crapping out. It could be. I have tried replacing them with other switches, and we've used other switches, and eventually at some point they all seem to have a problem at some point or other. So yeah, I don't know. It's the networked, or the connected world is just littered with potential nightmare scenarios, which you can't really do a great deal about, which is quite unfortunate.
Pebbles.
Oh, it was the Pebble USB 2. Ah, right. If you like the Pebble USB 2, you'll love the T10s, because they are they're really good.
Do you have any cooling for the switches?
No, they are supposed to be passively cooled, so they don't really have any. I did look. They don't have any kind of PWM headers or any outputs, so, and they don't have any USB headers either. So I was just thinking of getting a Arteck cooling, do a USB desk fan, which you just plug into your laptop or whatever. So I was thinking I could plug in a USB cable into a nearby switch or hub or router or like Virgin Media Hub or something, because they've got USB ports on for upgrades. So I could plug it into there and have the fan blowing towards it. But what I've done with the one in the front room is actually I've got my NAS, then I've got the switch, and also got the new mesh behind it. And the NAS has got two big 80mm fans on the back of it. So it's pulling in air, it's pushing out the air at the back, which is quite cool. And it's passing that over the mesh and also one of the 2.5 gig switches, which does seem to keep it cooler. The one that I think might be the concern is the one which is over there on the wall, which is in a place where it doesn't get much airflow, and it's currently like 23.5 degrees in here, and it's kind of 11 o'clock at night. So it's pretty warm in this room. It gets up to about 26, 27 at times. Yes, Gav.
Kieran asks if I link a mesh system in Discord, can you take a look?
Yes, of course.
And O'Reilly says, so the switches do not even have small 40 to 60mm fan?
No, the switches are basically designed as fanless units, so they're quite slimline. There's not really any room you'd put a fan. I was considering taking a drill and just cutting holes in it, but I don't really think that's going to help a great deal. They've got slits or slots on both of the ends, and I've actually mounted it on the wall deliberately upright, or like say that's your switch and that's the front of it. So normally you'd have it on a desk like that, so I've mounted it on the wall like that. So slots on the bottom, slots on the top, so in theory the hot air should rise out and it should pull in cooler air from underneath. That's the theory. How well that does in real terms I don't know, and because it doesn't have any sort of web interface, I can't log into the switch to see what the operating temperature is. Best potential thing I could do would be to get some thermal testing equipment and stick it actually onto the bits inside, close it all back up, and then take readings from it. But then I'd still need to know what the tolerances of those components are, and because it's 2.5 gigabit, each one of the individual switch ports has its own individual processor and a heatsink. So, and there's the controller, and the controller's got a heatsink as well. So yeah, potentially it's a nightmare. They're not cheap either. Like the 8-port one I think was nearly 100 quid. The 5-port one was about 70, 60, something like that. So I'm not overly keen on taking it apart and modifying it too much, because it's an expensive piece of kit. What is that?
It's Daisy falling off that pile of cardboard.
Oh, Daisy. So what I might do is I'm potentially going to take it apart, cut out a section where the actual main processing part is, and maybe put some of those little thin heat sinks and stick a bunch of them on there. See if that helps. I don't think it will. I'm not entirely sure it's the switches which are causing the problem, to be fair. It could be anything. So there's 3 mesh units. Each one is acting as a hub because it's got gigabit ports on it. Got 2 2.5 gig switches. We've also got old cabling, which runs like over the house and underneath the floors and all kinds of stuff. And yeah, there's so many possible points of failure, it's ridiculous.
Do you have high temps with the older Gigabyte switches?
No, the gigabit switches run very cool because they're under basically no load whatsoever, because the data transfer speeds are a lot lower. But having said that, when we have used gigabit switches before, we've still encountered problems at some points, whether or not, like, the stream doesn't appear to be lagging. And normally, if OBS can't communicate with the YouTube servers, it comes up on there saying there's a drop frame. So every time that OBS can't send a frame to YouTube's upload server, it counts as a frame that's missing. So any of the buffering, in theory, is either from the camera not actually recording through the Elgato, so because the frame has disappeared before it's being processed by the system, it doesn't count it as a drop frame. So potentially it could be the Elgato capture card, which is basically dropping a couple of frames. But then also, you're not all getting it at the same time. At least I don't think you are. Actually, next time it happens that there is a lag on the screen, definitely tell me, and tell me who's getting it. Because if you're all getting the same lag at the same time, then it's definitely my end. But if it's only 1 or 2 of you that are getting the lag, then it could be the fact that you're having the stream signal distributed from a different part of the YouTube network, and it's just buffering as it does. So if you're maybe in Germany, you'll be getting the stream feed from obviously a much different server. So it goes to a central server, then gets distributed out to little nodes all around the world. So yeah, you're not getting the signal directly from my house. This is going to YouTube. YouTube's then distributing it worldwide across their nodes. So it could be just one of the nodes in one of the countries is falling over, or is having a little brief outage.
Trojan.
Wi-Fi tends to be a bit of an arms race with your neighbours. A router with a Broadcom Wi-Fi chip in it tends to be the most resilient to interference. Most resistant to interference.
I feel like
I'm
a
not-
teacher
Yeah,
correcting you.
yeah, I'm not too sure what what's actually I should know that because I'm using Zycel mesh system now, and I'm pretty sure it did say on the site which chip it was. I don't know if it's a Broadcom. It's an 880 megahertz dual core chip. I'm not sure if that's Broadcom or not. Actually, that's the main processor, so the actual antennas and Wi-Fi would be, I guess, a different one anyway. Who knows? O'Reilly says, just do not accidentally create a cable loop between two switches, else you bring your whole network down. Now, funny enough, the switch in the front room actually has a, well, actually, in that one there, has a loopback thing on there, and I was getting a loopback. With my new mesh system, if I plug into the WAN/LAN port in one of the extensions, that creates a feedback loop. If I unplug it and plug it into one of the LAN sockets, it removes that feedback loop. So I'm thinking the mesh, although it's doing backhaul wired, it's also doing it wirelessly as well. And I think having wired and wireless backhaul is creating a loopback. So yeah, if you haven't got a switch or hub with a loopback detector on it, get yourself one, because potentially all of your network problems could be down to that. Definitely worth looking at. Are there different cables for 2.5 gigabit? Well, technically you could use Cat6 cables. You don't have to. Cat5e will support 2.5 gigabit, although realistically it's supposed to only go up to gigabit, but most Cat5e cable will quite happily transmit 2.5 gigabit. James Miscellaneous is in the house. How you doing?
I was going to say you've already said hello. No. That's James Brockham.
Riley says, the only time I get issues with the live stream is usually when you have a problem. Good stuff. Craig Gaming says, I've been with Virgin Media for 18 years. Previously 9X. Still have the old cables, SuperHub 3, wireless to PC. I get 384-ish megabits per second, but wired I struggle to get over 92. Strange that. If you're struggling to get over 92 megabits wired, but you get more wirelessly, then probably one of your cables is not connected right. So if you're stuck at 92 megabits per second on a switch, it's normally because you've got a 10100 switch in there somewhere, so it's not all running gigabit. To get 100 megabits per second, sorry, 1000 megabits per second, you need a gigabit switch, or every part of the link has to be gigabit. If there's any 10100 stuff in there, which I think the SuperHub 3 potentially might be 10100, so if you're connecting directly to wired, it will be probably slower than the wireless possibly will be. James Brock says, I use Cat6, like it and works well. If I ever do a rewire, which I'm probably going to have to do at some point, I would much prefer... Oh, actually, SuperHub 3 is gigabit ports. Thank you, O'Reilly, for that. Yeah, I would like to put Cat6 cabling in, but like everything I've...
We love cats.
Yeah. It's just too much going on. Mesh Wi-Fi can be difficult to set up if used with wired backhaul. You have to make sure the APs are not talking over Wi-Fi, otherwise you'll lose a lot of bandwidth. Yeah, my the Zycel stuff seems, whenever I go in to test it, it says your backhaul is perfect, which I'm guessing means it's running wired.
Personal.
It doesn't show a signal, it just says it's perfect, whereas if I disconnect the LAN cables, it comes up with a dB rating. Mike only have cat 4. Yes, 4 cats.
Daisy, you going to knock all that off?
Utopia says, the SuperHub shows your wired speed under connected devices, so easy to see. Stuart Cleary says, some people's lives are poor, all they have is money. It's very true. Money does not make you happy. It can buy you things which you think might make you happy, but generally it won't. And actually, rich people generally tend to be the most sad people I've ever met. It's a very strange thing. I think when you get to a point of, if you've got so much money that the struggle is over,
it never is over though.
It's kind of,
trying to go up and up, aren't you? Just live in the now. Be happy with your lot.
James Macias says, I use 2 paper cups and a string, analog wired connection, extremely low bandwidth. Right, I think that's pretty much it. I think we've said everything we need to say and done everything we need to do. Good one, James Brock. Yeah, I think that's it. If you've got any questions on this this unit, this PC, or you want to find out more about it, there is going to be a video, a standalone video I've already done actually on the parts list, which obviously if you want to do a similar sort of box, low powered box, and you want to do a similar sort of thing, then you can do the list. If you want to change the case out, potentially you might want to, depending on what your needs are and what you like, etc. I think it's actually worked out all right. Probably a little bit more planning might have been beneficial. A modular power supply definitely, and possibly an SFX one would have made a big difference, and arguably a better cooler. I think the cooler is going to be something which will be swapped out very quickly, but M.2 drive probably be beneficial. Modular power supply would make things neater, and possibly some slimline fans. Some slimline fans to go in the top would be pretty good as well. James Brasilia says, get some rest, Mike. Me and JB will sweep the floors with popcorn and toss out the drunks. I think Bob's already probably passed out somewhere.
Who? Ugly Bob?
Ugly Bob, yeah, he's probably passed out. I think that's it. Just Alpha Dingo. Next week, John's bow build. Possibly. We'll see. Like I said, I'm going to do the poll and see what people's reactions are. If we... it probably will be the John's bow, to be fair. Either that or the Arteck P20C. It'll be one or the other, I guess. Unless something else happens which comes along, but we'll see. Anyway, that's going to wrap things up. If you want to find out more, like I said, links in the video description. There is a standalone video for the parts. There's also going to be another standalone video for the actual performance to see what this actually goes like. To see if the 4600G is any good for gaming, if you're going to use it as a standalone. Benchmarks, temps, etc, etc. I think for a low wattage system, 3.5 watts, I still can't get over that. 3.5 watts is insanely low. It's basically a laptop, if not less than a laptop. I'm interested to get my laptop out actually and see how many watts that uses in comparison. But I think it's going to be very similar. So yeah, potentially this could be a choice for you for a low power system like a NAS or just a box which is always on. Anyway, I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To. Oh, I should say thank you all for your super chats and donations. Much appreciated. Thank you very much. And yeah, I think we'll see you in the next one. So, I've completely confused myself now. I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To. And hopefully we'll catch you in the very next live stream. Thanks for watching. And now I have to find the thing again. Let's have a party blower before we go. A party blower? There's a thumbnail for you. Anyway, good night all. See you next week.